Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to the GLL Masters Spring Grand Finals. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the broadcast today is Stokes, and we are very excited to be bringing you the finals here for South America over today and tomorrow. Stokes, how you feeling, man?
Oh man, I'm feeling so very excited, John. We've been watching this region over the last couple of weeks and been learning a lot about these guys. And this region is just so crazy when it comes to this game. Very fun to watch.
Definitely the case. It's actually a big pleasure for us here. As far as we can tell, there hasn't been a whole lot of coverage in this region in English as of yet, so we're getting to cover it for the first time. Very exciting stuff, but we've got a lot to cover today, so let's get started with it. First off, our schedule, of course. For those of you who weren't with us for our two earlier streams, we saw two of the other regions already covered between APAC North and the MEA, and those were some great games, of course. And they'll be continuing on into tomorrow as well, where we'll run it back once again in APAC North and MEA before we will rejoin you for the final games of the South American final series. We'll be covering games 1 to 8 today and games 9 to 16 tomorrow.
So much Apex Legend action going on right now, man. I'm so excited, and we got the prize pool up for you guys. You can see $100,000 on the line for everybody today.
Definitely the case. About $5,000 going to be up for grabs here in this specific region. You can also see our point system on the right side there too. 12 points for first place, going all the way down to 1 point if you place 15th to 11th. And as usual, 1 point per kill going up on the boards, giving us a total of kills throughout the matches. Like I said, 16 matches, upgrading it quite a bit. That's a whole lot of Apex these players are going to have to play. A whole lot of opportunities for these teams to prove themselves and prove their worth to take home the lion's share of that prize pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've been watching, like I said, a couple of these matches from before, and a lot of these teams just so very impressive. And I'm really, really happy that you pointed out those kill points, John, because I think that that's going to be the thing that we're talking about the most. Are people going to be getting aggressive, trying to be the kill leader? What's going to happen inside of this LATAM region? I'm just so excited to find out.
We're going to have to see, as obviously we checked out the ALGS event that happened a couple weeks ago and seeing what teams ended up coming out of that one. Pretty tame on the early game for the most part. We'll see if anything gets mixed up today. Speaking of today, we can take a look at our specific schedule and when each of our matches are going to be played out. We already talked a little bit about it a couple seconds ago there. 8 matches per day is how we're going to roll with this for 16 matches total here in the grand final. So games 1 through 8 are going to be played, with our first one starting here in just a few minutes. We'll be rocking through 7 more of those before we call it a night. And we'll be coming right back tomorrow at the same exact time, 19 BRT. That's going to be 3 p.m. Pacific or 6 p.m. Eastern if you're watching us from North America. And you can see the CEST times there starting at midnight as well. Hopefully all those conversions were correct, because that was a lot of info. So
I think you got it. I think you got it. The time wizard here for us, folks. But here's the teams for you all that will be attending today. And might I say, there are some crazy teams inside of this one. My personal favorite got to be Fake Love Black, John. I mean, we were watching these guys take it to flying high inside of that matchup that we were watching. Some incredible stuff, but there's so many good teams here.
yeah, definitely the case. And Flying Love Black comes in as probably one of our top contenders looking at these teams overall, just considering the last ALGS event that happened inside of the region. Wasn't exactly like the greatest run for them either. They kind of bounced back in the last couple games. They're not really placing too heavily, with only a 6th place position and then a 12th and a 10th place position. But all of a sudden, round 4 out of 8, back in that other final, they started placing 2nd. And then at the very final 2 games, got first twice in a row with 10 and 12 kills respectively in order to take the crown at that event a couple months ago. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to run it back. Plenty of other competition that was also present at that event going to be showing up here at the GLL Masters Spring today as well, and have already carved their way through the initial servers, or the initial lobbies, excuse me, as well as our semifinals, which were played out over the past 2 days as well.
Yeah, and just some incredible action coming from all of those matches like you were talking about. And that's what I'm so excited about coming into this. We're going to have 16 chances to see who can prove themselves here on the grand stage. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. And we'll continue to break down these teams as we go. But there's just way too much to talk about at this point. But still, anticipation. Ooh, you can see the hands shaking.
Definitely the case, guys. It's going to be my first time jumping into an Apex cast in quite a while, and Stokes' first time doing Apex overall here. So we are incredibly excited to be jumping into the action here in just a few minutes. A lot of other notable teams to be talking about for this as well. Fenrir showing up, Paradox as well, Elite BR. These are all teams that we saw at the ALGS a couple months ago and performed incredibly well there. For the most part, most of these teams placing inside of the top finishes or winning at least one of those matches as well. So some real contenders hopefully to be able to show up in the midst today.
Oh, absolutely. I think that a big talking point as well for all of our series today has got to be antisocial aimers, Blue. These guys, so very impressive. Every single match that we ended up watching, I mean, finishing so high on the leaderboard, continue to find those frags, and the rotation were lights out on that circle.
I think another interesting thing that we're going to see happen today for those folks who haven't been able to catch the South American region is going to be the variety of legend picks that we had. At least checking out some of the VODs we were watching over the past couple of days, we noticed quite a bit of variety inside of this region that you sometimes don't get. Isn't that right, Stokes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the big thing that I saw that most notably, right, was a couple of things like Octane coming out. We didn't really see any Horizon play or any really off-meta picks, you would assume, but we obviously saw that regular lineup. I think that the legend that we actually saw the most, now that I'm thinking back to it, Crypto getting so much play amongst these guys. We also saw some Revenant. There's just so many different choices getting thrown at you in this region. It just makes it so much more fun to watch because you're so used to watching, Wraith, Gibby, Bloodhound. You want to see all these other legends get some play and have some fun in the mix.
Yeah, the mid game specifically turning into a very, very tense affair in a lot of the matches inside of this region as a result of the prevalence of crypto. A lot of teams kind of finding safe spots to hide in, generally not drifting away from those too heavily, unless, of course, they're forced out of it via another engagement, and using crypto to figure out what the path ahead looks like, carve their way forward, and make things overall much safer before we see that some type of movement legend as well as Gibby coming in or Caustic or something like that coming in to assist with that as well. So quite a bit of variety, and I think that's going to continue into today's matchup as well. Since that was just a couple of weeks ago, not expecting anything too big on the overall meta shift for that front inside of this region.
No, not at all. Especially given the map. I mean, World's Edge, you're going to want to try and find those buildings and get some protection. So being able to be mobile, find yourself cover, information, all that stuff is going to be extremely vital to your success. One person that we haven't talked about just yet, though, was the Caustic gameplay that we saw, Blue. I mean, there was so many Caustic plays, especially over near Geyser, I feel like, where we saw him get a lot of influence inside of those buildings.
I mean, like we said, this map has a lot of those tiny fortifications inside of it, these little huts or sheds, if you will, that you can very easily lock down for the most part with a couple of well-placed gas mines going down onto the ground. So we can see this region using that quite heavily in their ALGS run. Obviously, we don't have VOD coming in from the semifinals or anything like that, so not too much we can scrape there besides just the usual stats and where everybody finished off. But what we do know for sure is we're going to see a lot of that. Also, early game, like I was talking about before, probably not going to expect anything too crazy to be coming out of these rosters here from what we were catching during the ALGS finals. We were seeing, for the most part, teams respecting the landing spots pretty heavily. No one trying to crisscross into their opponent's territory too often there over the 8 games that were played out during that stream.
No, not at all. And I think it's just a respect of the talent that's inside of this region. And honestly, I think the coolest thing when it comes to LATAM for Apex is the amount of teams that we have that don't have Brazilian players. Usually when you come into LATAM, you're expecting so many Brazilians, and here we have a nice spice of life across the entire board. This is very, very cool to see. It makes me so happy that we see a lot of different flags amongst all of these squads.
One of the great things about BR is obviously we can get 60 players in the game, kind of an obvious one, but yeah, obviously that opens up way more opportunities to bring in all sorts of players and diversity as well across the board there from many different regions here in South America. So not just going to be the Brazilian show today, we've got lots of representation, excuse me, coming out of Chile, as well as quite a few other countries in the region too. So we should be just a couple moments away from getting started with the first map, guys. I believe we're just waiting on 1 to 2 more teams to jump in, and then we should be good to get into the drop phase, see if we're going to have anything crazy to start this off, and of course what crazy action will unfold over the next 20 minutes or so as we get into our very first circle here.
So you've got to tell me, I know it's our first time here. This is the first time everyone's seen us for Apex, right? But who's the favorite? Coming in here, we watched the matches together. I feel like we got a pretty good feel of this field right now. We haven't seen a couple of these squads, but I feel like overall there's a decent understanding. How you feel going into this?
One team that I'm really curious to see how they pan out today, because they seem to be making waves in the semifinals, at least during the earlier games of it. I had to loop back and check, and they did drop off a couple more points, but obviously still stayed in the top 10. This was a Fenrir. And Fenrir was making waves in those first couple games during the semifinals. I think they picked up a couple top 3 finishes amongst that, as well as a lot of games that they were getting like 10 plus kills. So plenty of points coming in from them. The other important thing to note from Fenrir is if they're still using the same landing spot they were previously during the ALGS finals, it's a very aggressive landing spot. I know that there's like 2 to 3 other teams that like to land in those similar spots on the map. So we could be looking at a team like Fenrir having a lot of potential engagement opportunities early on. And if they capitalize upon that consistently and are going to be able to lock down the other enemy teams in the area quite often, I think we could be looking at them getting early leads. Now, in regards to consistent finishing, that may be a bit of a tougher question when you consider there's so many teams around them. There's a good possibility they could find themselves get cut off and wiped out early, but it's kind of a high risk, high reward sort of play style. And we're going to have to see if that pans out for them today to keep themselves high on the leaderboards.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword, right? If you're going to get aggressive early inside of a BR, you always have to risk the loot. You really don't know what you're going to run into. It's randomly generated. You could open up everything and just find shields and grenades, and now you don't have a gun and you're probably going to die. So it really matters as to how that opening goes. If they can find that early loot, they can probably get into those engagements and win them. But as you said, high risk, high reward. But for me personally, I got to go back to the favorites. I got to go back to Fake Love Black, man. I mean, they were just so very impressive with what they were able to pull off time and time again out of the series that we watched. It seemed like map in and map out, these guys were just dominating in every single engagement. Didn't matter if it was buildings, out in the open, what have you. Everything from utility usage to how they were just using their team play. Just so strong.
Definitely the case. So for me, I'm going to be keeping an eye on Team Fenrir. More than likely, if they have that same spot, it's going to be at the top left of the map near Trials or Skyhook. And you've got about 2 to 3 other potential squads that might be landing in that area as well. Speaking of which, guys, we should be just a couple seconds away here from getting into our first map. We've got all the teams into the lobby. We are loading into the actual match now. So let's get into it. Let's find out which of our teams is going to come out on top of our first match out of 8 here today. And remember, we've got 8 more coming up tomorrow as well. So it's a 16 match grand final. I don't think any team is going to be left with any excuses after all 16 of these games for why they weren't able to make an impact here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say that I'm the excuse master, and I don't even think that I could do that. I couldn't even get that past my mom, man. I'd get to 3 and she'd be like, hey, so listen, it's okay to just say that you're not good at this. All right, it's fine. So, but I feel like all of these teams really do have an opportunity here. Like, as we said, it's an equal playing field. Everyone starts at 0 points. It's the average across all of these games. So if you're consistent, you're going to win. If you're just a flash in the pan, you have one spark big play and you get one win, and then the rest of it, you're finishing bottom 20. I mean, that's going to be pretty rough for you.
At the same time, though, we've seen a couple of those teams bounce back. Like we talked about already with Fake Love Black. They had a good bounce back during the ALGS finals. And, well, here we go, folks. Moving ourselves into the drop phase now. Time to see where these teams are going to be working their way towards as we're loaded into the map. We'll start by taking a look at Singularity here and seeing where they're going to drop off at.
Well, already a really cool pick coming out here. We're going to have Horizon for Singularity, as we were talking about before, something that we didn't really see too often. I really like this Legend. I think she provides a lot of cool, different play styles. I mean, especially for a map like this where you're trying to transition up and down buildings, she can provide ease of access from outside.
Now, they are going to be in a little bit of a lack for info as a result of that, but still, inside of fights, that team's going to end up being very, very dangerous because of all the utility they'll bring to the table across their Legends. Obviously, the Gibby kind of speaking for itself. The Horizon, great for initiation, as well as the Wraith, helping these guys out in a big way when it comes more than likely to their capability to move out of, well, trickier spots that they might have to maneuver towards.
Yeah, repositioning is just so easy as Wraith with that ult. It's also a tactical ability to slide right into nothingness, get away from everybody. But doesn't seem like we're going to have too many early engagements here, as everyone's found their own area, just looting up early on.
You can see Fenrir there in the light blue color at the top left. That was the team I was talking about before, about how they were going to be landing in a hot spot. And I think I was pretty right about that, because we can see they've got 2 other squads close by, only really having that southwest quadrant of Skyhook to play off of. But we've got more squads kind of pinched in the midst there by Countdown, Lava Fisher, and another member of Paradox seeming to lurk up possibly towards this team, sitting by Lava Fisher as well. So definitely going to be the hot zone on the map here, since the circle will ultimately be working itself in towards this over the next few moments as well.
Yeah, it seems like Nellis has went on a ride to go get some info on where this next circle is going to be. We can also see Dynamics landing at Lava Fisher, which was a routine thing at ALGS as well. So seemingly to fit the bill for right now. Once again, I mean, it just seems as though everyone is really just biting for their own space. Trials going really well right now. No one really rotating into anybody just yet. So it's just going to be that early loot game and to see who can possibly find this info first. Only really bad news for everyone across the map is the circle being so high into the top left. Quite a few squads right now near the bottom right, and they're going to have to transition quickly.
Yeah, we've got about half the server way out of range right now, so they're going to have to move themselves relatively quickly to get inside here. here. That also means we could see quite a few teams crunched out very early, as it's going to lead to a lot of awkward rotations trying to move that far across the map to such an extreme position so early on here. Tracker as well, folks, on the right side. If you're wondering how to read that, the 3 dots are 3 players. So if someone goes down, it'll say 2 dots, 2 people go down 1 dot, so on and so forth. And eventually we'll see teams fully get eliminated there.
Yeah, like apparently my favorite, Fake Love Black, already gone. I don't know necessarily what happened here, but they are grayed out. So hopefully it's just something on the HUD and we'll get that figured out. But if not, that's very unfortunate.
Definitely not the way they would have wanted to start this one out, but like Stokes said, we'll try to catch up on that one over the next few moments here. Flying high, and meanwhile, catching up with them. They're one of the teams that we talked about needing to really sprint their way across the map here and try to work their way inside of that first circle, since it goes down at such a drastic angle. It's going to force a big movement here. Thankfully, they've got the Octane. They've got themselves quite a bit of a capability to do that from the jump pad, so shouldn't have much of an issue making their way over there.
Well, very interesting from Flying High here. Last time that we saw Wolf, he was actually playing in Wraith for most of his matches, but this time we're going to have him on Octane. A lot different character, a little more selfish inside of the utility department, but still quite cool nonetheless. I mean, he's able to heal himself as well as move extremely quickly, good scouting, as well as he can disengage from anything quite easily, whereas the rest of his teammates won't necessarily have that option, especially with Crypto and Gibby.
We're seeing a lot of jump pad use earlier and Octane use in general in one of our MEA games. So just a call back to that, if we see more of that coming into the South American region, I think that might be the case, but possibly having ourselves an early engagement here. Loyalty already catching out one of the squads in the distance. Not really going to be able to capture them though. So more than likely just some passing damage, forcing out the usage of a couple shield cells at the worst. And they'll make it out of that without too much trouble.
All right, well, Loyalty, apparently working off the OnlyFans tags here, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But I mean, they're already pretty high on shield so far, which is good for them. Already have Invux over here on pink, as well as Bin. Nice stuff early on here, especially with only the round 1 ring closing. So these guys are already ready for fights. Good ammo, good weaponry as well. I mean, as of right now, everyone just playing this quite slow, which is to be expected, right? Very early on here, just trying to tag people up, get those Evo shields stacked.
As we were talking about, with that capability to initiate coming in there for Singularity, quickly getting the boost up to the top of the building coming off of their horizon. And it might not be the only people involved in this fight too. Flying high, still trying to chase down the targets that they locked down previously, but unfortunately this open area just leaving far too much room for their opponents to escape, get behind coverage, whether it's the terrain or the buildings sitting at Fragment over here to the north. So they'll be able to make it out of there once again, as it's right now still just passing damage as most of these teams are rotating. Looks like our squad over here though, Panic and JC taking at least quite a few hits here. Rizera going down to half HP and having to really fall back out of this fight. Looks like they've got the distance from this other squad working their way in just in front of them, but we'll still have to be careful, as oh no, they could come up this zip line here and collide with them if they're not careful.
Oh, I don't know if Renerza knows that. Oh, here we go. Turgo goes right to the middle car instead. Novak follows, but they're actually going to fall back.
The good news here is they have high ground, so it seems like their opponents don't want to try and mess with that this early on. Keep in mind, we still have pretty much every single team in. Fake Love Black looks like they are out, because I can see 19 teams connected a moment ago, so I'm unsure if they were just unable to load in or if they got knocked out early, but either way, no one really going down so far in the match yet, and you definitely don't want to be the 19th team out, so most of these teams just avoiding fights if they have the option to get out of them.
Well, we have quite a few people clustered down around Thermal Station, working their way into the circle, as well as Trials, Countdown, and Skyhook. That area is high priority for a lot of these squads right now. Way too many targets walking through. Anyone gets caught in a valley, they're more than likely in trouble. But it honestly seems like, well, the break for Thermal Station will work out for a lot of these squads. Could have a re-engagement, though. That squad we were watching earlier, Loyalty.
They're going to have to move out of this thermal station position, though. It's not safe, as you can see from the circle, so they'll eventually be forced out, but they are waiting the time down. Meanwhile, catching up with Singularity, they've been able to collide with another squad as well, nearly knocking down Briz there as he goes to nearly half HP. Still plenty of cover to play off of from the inside of the city in the buildings, though, so going to be able to heal up without too much of an issue. MP going to come out against Singularity here, but not seeming to make impact, as they're still going to be in perfectly okay fashion here.
Yeah, every squad holding on onto their buildings for the time being. See Wolf and Trabs by far in the back. Slightly working their way closer as well. We actually could have a pinch here momentarily if they do hear that noise. Singularity inside of the building now, but Almond Brands actually get cut off. Elysium all on his lonesome. Shockstar out. Still has a massive as well. Huge damage onto the Gibby. Finally able to get some damage. Downs one wingman out, and oh, it's the pinch from Singularity. Huge damage here. The shield to cover him up, and the res. Very well done.
Very clean as well there. We talked about how the Horizon would be impacting their gameplay, and you can tell it activates a lot more aggression than their opponents seem to expect coming out of that one there. They'll be able to move in, knocking out one of our first teams to go fully down here. As it's going to leave, actually no, excuse me, Brizu survived. He actually managed to get out of that situation. So only 2 of them going down, no full team wipe. Brizu going to be the only one left standing though, and I'm not even sure if he's going to be able to work his way back in there to get those banners back. We're going to catch up with Flying High though, as they've got another opponent sitting directly above them here. Wolf trying to be the initiator here, stims himself up the stairs as they swing around. This is the ruins of that fight we just saw a moment ago from Singularity, but it looks like they're trying to escape. They're trying to get out of here, but their Horizon needs to be careful, nearly running into their opponent here as they're changing buildings.
Doesn't appear that Neo can assist them right now either. Just trading blows back and forth. And now it's going to be the drone here for Traps. See if he can possibly get some intel, but he's immediately going to get off of that instead and start shielding up. They don't want to re-engage just yet. Much rather get on top of those shields, and you can't exactly blame them, but it seems like we could have the other squad engaging once again. Singularity smells blood in the water, and they're cleaning things up. Neocox in the back, running for his life, trying to guarantee points here, but his friends dying upstairs. No assistance at all. He's going to throw the ult down, still tries to escape. They want this KP so badly. They'll clean up Wolf. He's trying to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them right now, Blue, as it seems like it's working as of now.
Theo running, looks like he's dodged line of sight, but he's about to go back into it again here as he crosses the veil. So close to getting finished off, and more importantly for the full squad wipe going into their favor, but haven't seen it come out just as of yet here. Phoenix spotting at least another squad as well, but they're a little bit more timid with their aggression here, not wanting to immediately engage upon their opponents. Might be the follow-off from Singularities. It looks like they had spotted that last remaining Gibby as he fell back to the inside of the building here, and indeed, it does look like that's the case as they've got the cross on Singularities' position right now. Phoenix spotting another player by the actual skyhook as well. I think that is our unfortunate Gibby that's left all by his lonesome at this point. About to run into another full 3-man squad. Oh no, the jump up on the jump pad going to come in from above against him as well. Here's no, he'll actually cut in front of him. Smart movement coming out here from One Worst as he's going to swing around the corner, try to cut him off at the head. Uses that shield once again. Good plays by the Jivvy to keep himself alive, but it's all for naught as finally Neo ends up going down, and that's the full wipe of TKL.
Oh, worst Twitch. The movement there is so incredible. Right over the top of the building, chases him down, and Gibraltar just did not have the speed. Sadly, Octane's is a little bit faster for some odd reason. You really can't believe that, can you? But the Spitfire helping him out there quite a bit as well. One of my favorite guns, personally speaking, inside of this game. Not only do you got that range, but also just what seems to be an endless magazine at times.
All right, so Flying High, our first team, as far as I can tell, to get fully wiped out here. They're going to go down. That'll take us to 18, but plenty more action going to be coming up over the next few moments here. The first circle has closed, and the second is closing. So players getting forced in closer to each other. We do have a potential engagement going on at the north side of Lava Fisher, but way more than that, too. Players coming in close contention to each other. Still on the inside of Skyhook, from what you can see, 2 to 3 squads. Very close to each other there. Elite actually has a pretty strong position right now if you look on the left side for the white, but we'll cover them later here as it looks like Singularity and Phoenix are about to jump into another engagement. They've got death protection going so they can get aggressive against their opponents here. Is that going to be enough, though, to initiate? That's the question as the fight is ongoing.
We'll have to see if Phoenix can possibly use his insurance when out in this engagement, but instead they're going to back off, seal the door, and wait here. But it's definitely going down in Fragment East. You can continue to hear the fodder outside. Great positioning. The opposite squad here. I believe that Singularity at worst is currently getting shot at. No re-engagement just yet. Just simply building up for their ults and everything else in between. And oh no, it seems that we've, I believe, found our friends.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. We'll check in on them in a second here. Singularities hopping themselves into another fight once again. Brands biting off a little bit too much more than he could chew there, so he's gonna have to hop away into the next building. Elysium, the same fate. DMM still in an okay fashion as he was more than likely to detach from the rest of this on a building top or something like that. We can still see him firing off, and hey, here he is, right where I said he'd be, on top of the building here. just keeping that fire going on his opponents and preventing the crunch from coming in on the singularity here. They've already got a good start to this game. They don't want to mess it up now with a low placing finish.
They're doing fantastic right now. I mean, great engagements and a lot of disengage as well, where they just really didn't want the fight, able to get away and keep their life. As you said, at this point, they've had such a fantastic start. There's really no point in throwing it away. And granted that we see Fragment East completely cleared out for the time being, they're more than likely going to be able to make it to this next circle and guarantee a top 10 finish. Could also get a lot more kills because the weaponry right now for them looks stacked, but looks like we're going to have a lot of engagements going on over here near, believe, Countdown, I do believe, if I remember correctly from my map knowledge. So, anyways, getting on board here with Phoenix 2. Make sure you guys are keeping track of that. There are 2 squads here for this organization. This one's going to have Folks, Kindy, and Monkey on it, though. Monkey currently shielding up. They are getting in an engagement as of right now, but nothing too big happening. Just, once again, backing off and trying to play their life. Looks like we might have a little bit of team play go off here from Kindy, but Folks will still make it inside.
Yeah, thankfully it serves as a distraction more than anything else to get Folks out of there, so he's going to be able to survive. Good scan coming out as well on the Bloodhound there, getting some much needed info about how to approach these next couple of seconds. Crucial as well as in 20 seconds that circle is going to start closing in on them again, and it will force them to move forward deeper into Skyhook here, which seems to be becoming that final battleground as most of our teams are starting to converge on that part of the map. Seeing what else is going on here as our teams try to survive, try to hold on to this corner, and more importantly, progress forward. You can see here CL just having nothing to play off of. That truck maybe being slightly safer. They have to use the jump pad, though, to move quickly, get the heck out of here because this zone is getting too hot too quickly, and they need better positioning to play off of that just not being it. Singularity still having strong positioning to play off of on the inside of that building. There is another fight going on directly next to them, but they don't seem to want to take the bait on that one. EVL and another squad sitting below them already potentially going to be jumping into an engagement in a second, and a third, extra wrench in those gears is going to potentially mess things up even more than they would like. Really had a problem finishing that sentence for some reason. Moving on.
All good, my friend. All good. We're finally getting on board with Insomnia. We haven't seen these guys the entire time. Caustic along for the trip, and he's going to ult immediately when we jump on board, but now he's setting himself on fire. I know that you enjoy your time when you're rapidly approaching your death, my friend, but maybe not that fast is what the rest of his team is more than likely thinking. Manage in a lot of trouble, and Casual Gamers now in the mix as well, just playing the edge of the circle, shielding up right now, and DK getting some much needed info. Oh, and he's gonna find 2 hugging the cliff, and they'll also escape the entire area.
That was brutal.
Oh, that was so tough for them, yeah. Especially with Casual getting on top of the shield just a little bit earlier than they were, trying to help their friend out, but just could not get it done.
So many defensive bombardments coming in from the Gibbies as well there. Just absolutely nowhere to hide from those, unfortunately. So you're just at the will of the RNG of where those attacks are going to come down from at that point. And obviously for anybody who's in the open, just didn't pan out well for them. Another engagement here is Phoenix 2 fighting for survival. Folks is the only one alive, tries to get himself battery pack to heal back up, but no, another squad jumps onto him at the last second. He's going to be forced back into the fight when being unprepared for it. And as a result of that, Phoenix 2 will get wiped out. Fenrir in a tough spot here too. They've just lost their Bloodhound. Tremanger not going to be in a position where he can easily get revived. Zilach as well, trying to get aggressive, but more fire coming out from the corresponding cliffs around the city, and that's going to prevent him from getting aggressive.
Well, we'll have to see some lights out gameplay here from Zoltem as the saunas are going off inside the building right now, Blue. But I don't know how much they'll be assisting him. He's going to need a lot of help and possibly a Wraith to come back in. But Brave Soldier seeming to clean up shop over on the other end of the map, picking their friend back up, Lukey. And the shields are looking strong, but now Sada getting lit up. They're in some trouble. And oh no, Lukey's been finished asleep. This is something you'd only hope to see in your dreams because it's possibly a nightmare at this moment. He's gonna go for the recon, get some intel on the positioning, but they're bearing down on them. It's Phoenix looking for the cleanup here on, I believe, yet another squad. So much damage going on to the Octane. The Gibby, last one alive, but he's now down for the count as well.
Getting down to the final couple teams here as we've reached the top 10. Well, so many teams getting caught being forced to move to the outside of Skyhook. There's so little cover to play off of, and unfortunately for so many of our teams, it means they met their fate. TBS about to try and make a run here against our squad. We just saw surviving the last engagement. Only 2 up for TBS, though, so they are going to be outnumbered as they go in, but they've got the element of surprise. Arcstar spam coming out as 3 consecutively get chucked out against their opponents here. But oh no, look at who's coming around the corner. Fenrir as well, one of the members of TBS, I believe, already being caught. Fenrir going to have to try and see if they can third party this one. They'll do that without a problem, but now they've got to catch up to the other team as well and avoid getting iced out by the circle here, as there's even more chaos going down on top of the cliffside.
Oh, this is going to be a huge engagement from all of these squads. This cliff, now apparently a war zone. Lots of damage coming down. The Gibby luckily having the shield here for Phoenix. Suha keeping them alive. They'll be able to res Coliseum back up, possibly help with his abilities as well. And he shut down some people, but now it's going to be an EMP. And oh no, it seems like the shoe's on the other foot. Seems like the artillery continues to come down on top of them as 1IQ and Elite come into play as well. This is a huge crossfire going on across this entire area right now.
A lot of chances for our teams to make impact here now that we move into the final 5, but it's going to be so tense. Alpha Intelligence Esports having that position up on top of the cliff. Bucks holding it for his squad right now, giving them a pretty big lead. The question is, are they going to get closed out on the circle? I believe the answer would more than likely be yes, and that may be why we're seeing Scanor work his way to the top of Trials now to avoid potentially getting pushed off of this great high ground they have to work off of, which should give them an advantage, assuming they don't get pressed off the top of it. You can see that, though. That circle is absolutely going to send them flying when this thing closes in 20 seconds. So they need to be very much ready to jump into a position where they will be overexposed and will have to fight for their own survival. You can see the same fate is going to be fought among the players now working their way to the outside of Trials here. At least one team getting caught trying to push into the building, trying to push out LRG, but not making it so easy there as they're forced back. They're going to have to try and re-engage again on circle close with that jump pad.
Seems like they're jumping right past this. Nocturne out the door, chasing them down. Now Coliseum with a problem. He's trying to slip away. They'll find the cover. They get the Gibby shield down, so they'll stay alive for the time being, but a lot of damage done to Gibbs as well. The only one at full shield. Here comes the EMP. It's gone, and all the damage coming down on top of them. These ults destroying this squad. They can't find a way out. They've been slown, but actually worse, still alive is, oh no, he'll actually be able to get the shield battery off, but no, he cancels it at the last second. Unfortunate for him as we finally reached our top 3.
Dynamics, in the meantime, finding what should be a surefire position to close out at this point. Way up on top, still in good position to play out the circle for the remaining minute they have left too. And here comes the portal to allow them to get aggressive, swinging around this hillside. That's going to let them in on their final opponents here, trying to hide, trying to recover. Dynamics has the initiating edge, but do they have the frags needed to shut this one down? Their opponents trying to wait this one out here, but no, the pressure is going to be thrown onto them anyways. We come down to those final 6 players. Aimbot getting down there. We'll see if they're going to be able to revive him at any point, but may not be so easy, as at the same time, 1IQ losing one of their remaining players here as well, bringing it down even further. But that Gibby still up, still potentially revivable, but with this few players left, more than likely going to get ignored to just favor the fight, favor the closeout. They know they have them pinched. They know they have them locked down into a corner here. Just need to finish the job, and there we go. It's Elite BR, excuse me, not 1IQ. That's the last team left standing here, as they're going to try to shut this one down against Dynamics. Tupertinsky making the push forward here, has the Mastiff to play up close. Do they have the info as they're making this so difficult to play around this big rock, trying to pinch out their players, and it looks like it will work as Dynamics finish the crunch and take control of our opening map of the series.
Fantastic plays there from Dynamics. What a push there at the end to seal it out as well. I mean, that was anybody's game going down to those last couple of circles. 5 squads right on top of each other. And the craziest thing about that was, from the series that we had watched before, that was not what I was expecting at all. Everyone just enclosed in this tight little area. It seemed like we were at the last circle when actually I believe we're at the 3rd or 4th. And either way, some fantastic stuff overall for our first series here. Congratulations to Dynamics, but still a long road ahead of them, and we saw some amazing engagements across this entire map, John. Most notably for me, it's got to be over near the 2 fragment areas. It just seemed like that was the blast off for this entire thing.
Yeah, Skyhook was really the battleground for pretty much the entire early game, and that's what gave Singularity what's more than likely going to be a large majority of their points that we'll see on the scoreboard here when we come back from the break. because unfortunately they got wiped from what I can tell trying to leave that area, and so did about half the server there. That really was the culling moment that took out a large majority of our players that we were seeing a lot of potential come from as they were trying to build up their kits on the inside of Skyhook. That circle was just so brutal for so many teams there because you only had those 2 to 3 extras waiting on the outskirts, hoping that the circle would end up drifting that way over towards the northwest side of the map. And thankfully it did, which gave Dynamics and a couple other teams, AIE I think was one of them, some really good opportunities to shut down the players that were going to be forced out of what up until that point were really, really safe positions, and led to a massive wipe towards the end there to get us our top 10 or top 5.
Yeah, honestly, going back to dynamics, I mean, this squad, looking back through their play, we talked about them initially at dropped in the exact same spot that we saw them drop at ALGS. They drop at Lava Fisher, and they're also exact same lineup. So you can see this is something that has routinely worked for them, and now they're finding wins with this. If they can continue this pace, Blue, I don't know, man. I mean, it seemed like Lava Fisher, just a great start for them overall. Granted, the circle probably helped out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely the case. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to close out our first map of the day. Keep in mind, we've got 7 more coming right up and around the corner, so stick with us. When we come back, we'll have the scores as well as map number 2. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for that momentary bug there. We had something go wrong with the lobby. It looks like we have quickly rectified that issue, though, and are about to relaunch for the second time into our second map of the series here. If you're just joining us, this is the grand finals of the GLL Masters Spring for South America. We've got $5,000 up for grabs. Our teams coming in, our top placements, and as well as plenty of other fun to be had too. 16 games of Apex over the next 2 days, and we're just getting into the second one. So you've joined us at a good time, folks. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at the drops here as we're getting into map number 2. We'll start off with our champions as well. Took the first map, Dynamics here, going right into loot up here.
Yeah, jumping right back in with it in the exact same lineup as well. So feeling confident right now is Dynamics, and they're starting off well. Juper already with a pink shield, has a blue helmet as well, and a rifle. You can't complain starting off like this.
Definitely not the case here, and we'll see what else they're able to scavenge for themselves as well. Though, like we talked about before, though, not much in the way of any sort of crazy early game fights is going to be happening here. These teams were relatively respectful of each other's own landing spots. That top left position, still a little bit chaotic there, because like I said, we got a couple teams relatively close to each other. I talked about how Fenrir and AIE, Elite BR is the other team, by the way, because I couldn't remember it earlier, that lands on the east side of Skyhook there and really crunches Fenrir in. Trying to see what else we have, if there's any close contention, but from what I can at least quickly grasp on the minimap here, it's not looking like we're going to get any fights early on, except aside from that potential Skyhook area.
Yeah, it seems to be going down once again. Elite could possibly be in the mix here. Could see Zoltam and Fenrir also along for the ride, but we'll have to see how this first circle progresses. Nobody really getting in any engagements early on inside of that last match. We just saw mostly some pot shots getting taken, people trying to level up their shields for later on engagements. But this circle is going to be similar, if not the exact same one, I do believe, that we had the last time.
Just keeping an eye out here, seeing if any of these players are potentially going to collide into circle once again, drifting towards the northwestern quadrant of the map. Already seeing one of our teams start to move out from their initial area here. That's going to be Paradox heading out from staging, but they'll still be in relatively safe quarters until they work their way all the way up to Lava Fisher, where you finally start to have a little bit more resistance potentially coming in from the other side here. Away from that, though, it is once again a very, very passive start to this game. And actually, it looks like we've seen a pretty big movement come out, specifically from our dark blue team here near Train Yard. I'm unsure if they're going to potentially go in and match up against Fake Love, who is heading up through one of the tunnels into the vault right now. That's looking like they're potentially getting close to each other.
Well, we're also going to have Prox here redeploying back onto the train tracks. Like we're gonna have any engagement here for them just yet, though. Just seems like very patient gameplay. But a charge rifle from downrange. By downrange, I mean about 200 meters away. And I don't think that that'll work out in their favor if things do end up going that way. It's actually Dynamics all the way across this area, lava and everything else in between.
They're going to work their way up very close and very quickly to the folks on Dynamics here. And Paradox going to try to see if there's anything left to loot over here. But as they'll find out, this has already been pretty much cleaned up by their opponents. They do have some crates as they move over here towards this next little staging ground, but at the same time, they've got to be cautious, man. Paradox just can't seem to find a safe place to loot here as they're going to catch AIE running across the tracks as well. Bucks getting caught out there, and oh no, Zero just getting absolutely melted here. He barely survives the exchange with only about 10 HP left after that. Behind the rock, should still have plenty to heal up with it this early on in the game. Don't imagine why he would have been bled, but it's good initiation from Paradox. Definitely going to scare away AIE more than likely, as we can see them heading back into trials now. Don't want that fight. Don't want to have to force that engagement this early on. And finally, that's going to give Paradox a little bit of room to breathe.
Yeah, the Colombian squad are going to scamper off and reshield instead. Want to try and get a solid finish here, and you can't exactly blame them. Again, consistency, the name of the game when it comes to ALGS. So he's going to go back and loot up once again instead, but oh no, they've actually ran into more problems, it seems like. Gibby's shield down and AIE on the hunt.
This top cliff position, they used it in the previous game as well, and I think this is how they were able to leverage a large majority of their kills. Didn't get to keep up with them too much, except for that moment in the late game when they were finally forced off the cliff and unfortunately wiped out. But in the meantime, TBS being forced away, they're going to run right into Fenrir, who will also engage them. Not so much to Fenrir's credit, though. Trumanger nearly being completely melted out. He loses his shields entirely and is going to have to use a battery to get himself back in the fight there and start rotating back into a safer position. Seems like both of them will just take the tit for tat, though. Either one really wanting to commit to the engagement, as we were seeing in the previous map, and ultimately back away from each other, netting themselves the space which they fought for.
Well, we are going to see AIE finally come down off the cliff, though. ZRO still sending some pot shots over towards Elite BR here. Skyhook once again our battlegrounds. Not too much else going on, though. We also see FL not on the horizon. Once again, just quite slow early on, but this is exactly what we're going to expect. Mostly just scouting, as quite a few squads still outside the circle as Ring 1 works its way in.
Elite BR has had free reign over the majority of Skyhook while all of this chaos has been going on the west side of the map, so I'm going to be curious to see what they've built up for themselves, having access to so much of the loot on the inside of Skyhook here and what that's going to potentially open up for them. No real reason for them to force an engagement, especially with this great positioning they have. No real capability for anybody to be flanking against them because they have that wall sitting directly to their south, as well as full peer view on the entirety of Skyhook. And in general, just looking at the map, a large majority of enemies that they'd have to worry about are going to be concentrated to their south, past the dividing cliff walls. So for the most part, they'll be relatively safe there as long as the circle continues to play into it. They realize it, and they do see another team pressing in from their east, however, so are going to start to get prepared for that as they potentially need to get ready to take that fight. We have INS, in the meanwhile, also closing in relatively close to the winners of our previous matchup here. Dynamic sitting on the inside of one of these small buildings, waiting to be forced out as well.
Well, hopping back in what I do believe is Countdown. Feel free to correct me if I am wrong here. But as you guys more than likely know, as we all play Apex, map really isn't inside of ranked right now. So I've been playing a lot of Season 8. I've been having a lot of fun with these new characters, but really wish I had some World's Edge back in my life. This is such an incredible map, honestly, and I used to have so much fun on it, but just, you know, not playing the game as much as I'd priorly done, and now back over to here. But I'm happy that it's inside of competitive and I get to watch it once again, because these engagements are just so cool, especially around this area. Really like Skyhook and how things go with these buildings, because these tight angles like this being held by Brands, you can see he can use these little slats for information and things like that on the movements of these people, as well as these long engagements. Just remind me of a lot of things from different FPSs with those long distance sniper rifle battles.
It's Singularity again caught up in the midst of Skyhook here, and we had already seen them do that in the previous map, netting them 9 kills, if memory serves me correctly, and overall keeping them in top 3 contention, even though they placed relatively low. Unfortunately killed trying to fall out of there. Fake Love going to get wiped here in the meantime by flying high, pressing into their position and forcing them out, meaning that Natsu, Luskin, as well as their third teammate, not going to be able to make it any further. They'll be the first team knocked out again here.
Yeah, that Mastiff just ripping them apart with those close engagements, flying high, coming away scot-free as well, and they're good for yet another. So we'll see. They possibly run into Fenrir here. Zilich going to be on point, and he lights Wolf up. Oh my. They'll more than likely have to re-engage here, as they don't want to try and lose somebody so early on. but we also have Team Brave Soldiers all the way in the back, still about 150 meters away though, so more than likely just going to scout. They also need to get Lukey a shield.
So a momentary lapse in the fighting here, as a lot of teams already getting pressed very close to each other this early on in the game. Once again, you got the circle to thank for that. But either way, we've reached a more passive point here. Singularity and Fenrir relatively close to each other on opposite sides of the wall, while you do have Elite BR also sitting back here. JC, in the meanwhile, getting an angle onto these players with a charge rifle, cracking one, trying to finish him off, but that shield coming in just in the nick of time to save what I believe was a Bloodhound about to get knocked down on the other side of that fight.
Well, without name, we saw them finish decently high the last time, but we also saw Panic, of all names, get into some trouble as well. But we'll see if they can possibly right things this time around. Once again, not too many early engagements, all except for Fake Love Black, which last time not able to play, this time actually dying first. So I guess the caster's curse is just alive or something like that.
Just 0 for 2.
Yeah, it's not a good day over there in that camp.
We'll see if they can up the stats a little bit later. Insomnia is still stuck in a bit of an awkward position here as well, just on top of the lava. And meanwhile, back over here towards, I believe it's going to be Countdown, we've got like 2 to 3 squads within very close proximity to each other. And actually, one possibly getting jumped on here. Elite VR coming within very close contention to AIE. We did see a drone EMP coming out from a Crypto a couple seconds ago, but no follow. Actually, 3 squads getting close to each other here too.
That's only 100 meters away.
Singularity. I didn't even see. Yeah, Singularity coming on the right side as well. Man, this is, where's the circle going to move? Are these guys going to be forced out? Is the question anytime soon, or?
I don't believe so. I think it's actually,
yeah,
they're going to get forced out towards trials here. And also there's another team inbound as well. Don't know who that exactly is, but we'll make sure to update you guys on that as soon as we get that information. But man, this is going to be a heck of a circle coming up on this very next one. Obviously, we still have to get through the second and then activate the third to actually force them out of Skyhook. So a lot of these squads can actually just simply sit on their hands and wait for those engagements. We also have some things popping off across the map, but it's mostly just, once again, those early engagements as people pop shotting, trying to get those shields built up. As I believe, oh man. Who exactly is this? Is Phoenix 2. This is who it is. I had Phoenix 1 stuck in my head there for just about 2 seconds, but good damage as well as great positioning here for them.
And see Folks still waiting for his capability to initiate here. He's going to try to take a couple shots, but his opponents are being able to successfully weave their way past him. Gets the scan off, though, to reconfirm the direction they're going to be moving, since they have this high ground to play off of now. The circle doesn't entirely capture Phoenix 2 here, so they will more than likely need to move slightly out of these high ground positions, and that's what their opponents are counting on at this point, abandoning these high tower spots, giving them a potentially much more even fight. But at the end of the day, they're just going to veer well out of their opponent's path here, trying to avoid Phoenix 2 entirely as that other team tries to rotate into safer quarters.
Great movement from them, and that's just making a very, very difficult target to hit. I mean, you could see how hard that was with the Spitfire, even with the amount of ammo that he had. But as soon as I say that, Loyalty now in an engagement of their own. Great intel, as well as some fire coming in from behind. Everyone trying to dogpile on the Rabbit for these kill points. No frags coming through just yet, though. Bins positions outside the circle, but it's closing in on him, trying to shield up the Mastiff with some massive damage for Loyalty, but Kings has been down. Invictus needs to come through with the assist. Can they possibly clean up shop? And it seems like they will. Worried about possible positioning on the rooftops, and he damn well should be. Possible damage coming in from every direction, as we know how many squads are around here. That Gibby shield finally coming down to the assist.
We talked earlier about how Skyhook was the battleground in game 1, and he's becoming the battleground in game 2 here as well. So many squads within close proximity to each other, and only one getting wiped out here. You actually have to respect the discipline coming in from so many of the other teams at Skyhook there, not to try and take the third party, but more than likely being aware of the fact that there's a fourth and a fifth party potentially waiting around the corner here as well. Another squad engagement going off, though. Casual getting jumped on by their opponents sitting down below them here as they're going to try and work this fight in. A lot of pressure going on to the enemy's Gibby as he's forced into the basement. He'll be taken out without too much of a problem, and now Casual will just take a second here, put themselves in safe quarters, heal up before they try to re-engage once again, as there's still, believe at least one other player, the Wraith, still alive on the opponent's squad here.
We'll see if Casual can possibly find her, but nothing really much else going on. Oh, Possible death down low. Don't exactly know what happened there, but we are jumping on board with Cerberus, who are an engagement of their own. Their Gibby's going to go down, and now it's down to just the Crypto. Annabelle JZ trying to find some space. Going to take quite a bit of damage, and his shield's already been broken. He's now bleeding here. Needs to try and find some safe area to pop this bat. He'll be able to do so. Crypto drone also destroyed as of right now, so he simply just needs to play for these points. Both of his teammates gone. Just needs to try and find some frags and possibly a higher placement.
And couldn't even really use the drone in the situation anyway here, since he's unfortunately being pursued alone, just not going to be able to have that luxury. So we'll have to work his way out of here. The banner's probably not even going to get recovered either. So you've got Annibal stuck in his solo position more than likely for the rest of the match now for top 16, as he's going to try to place as high as he can. And if he can sneak some kills, that's great. But the 1v3s, man, it's going to be rough for him throughout the rest of this game here. So more than likely not going to be able to see much coming out. Pay attention to that later on, though. We've actually moved quite a bit away from Skyhook here since the circle's begun to close in. A lot of players rotating through that choke point and out. That includes Elite BR and a lot of the others that were inside of this city, deep inside it just a couple moments ago.
Yeah, those 1v3 engagements is when Apex goes from being a BR to being a horror game. I mean, you're never going to win one of those things. It's so very difficult. And oh, anti-social aimers trying to get away, but Novak with so much trouble. Phoenix too, just on top of them. The wingman, too much damage. Worried about the flank as well. This is going so well for them. They get their shield down. They'll be able to play both angles here. The Mastiffs just delivering the damage necessary to shut out this situation. But oh no, the flank comes through.
So many people
Flying High wins out on this instead. Travis has been killed. Wolf to follow suit. What is going on for these squads?
So many people getting wiped out here on, once again, this big rotation. Neo going to be left as the solo player again for Flying High. The same fate that was thrown at him in the previous matchup. He's got a chance to return fire, though, as he works his way in. Nicely done. Has the Mastiff to clean up against Annibal, wiping out Cerberus here. Slack for Fenrir, though, going to come in for the double cleanup as Neo, remember, he's still alone behind this corner. Has to try and survive, but it's all of it futile for him. He'll go down, and all of those death boxes, go over to Fenrir. We're not even done yet. Elite BR also engaged in another fight here as well, over by Lava Fisher.
Yeah, it's Insomnia as well as Loyalty and Elite all within the same square 100 yards, I'd say. Like, this is ridiculous right now. You can just see the distance with that little measurement above their head. Elite currently on a lower staircase here, where we have Loyalty locked above. As soon as this ring moves, all of these squads will more than likely have to dip and try and find another area to work. But Insomnia more than likely have the strongest position as of right now. You can definitely see how this engagement is probably going to go poorly for Elite, given this other squad being right on top of them. I am so very scared for all of them, given the circumstances. And oh my, update coming in. We also have a squad gatekeeping the entire area.
For our squad on the top of the building there, yeah, these guys are going to have to move quickly. And they're going to drive on Elite BR. Oh, and it seems to be working as well. Coming all the way down to just the SAR house, and they all get down. But no, the SAR comes out on top of that one. He's got to try and quickly get his teammates back up there. In fact, he already lost his Crypto. Tries to recover, but no, it's going to bleed them all out there as the circle starts to close in, forcing them out. Insomnia close out, taking them down there.
Insomnia hear all of the violence going on across the street, and Gregom goes across to see what's up, trying to be a good neighbor, and instead he finds himself a free frag and he cleans up the entire engagement. That's the last thing you want to happen if you are Elite BR. But what a heads up play from Insomnia there. But now they're into some trouble of their own. Crypto already down, as well as yet another Paradox doing so much damage. This is that squad that we were talking about before, gatekeeping this area. They can just play it right off of the ring, and that's exactly what they did. Fantastic from them, but already some more engagements going down. 2 Gibby shields popped, and now Fenrir on top of things.
Fenrir trying to get aggressive on this too, but they'll have to be careful. It's an open fight. Tremondre nearly killing himself by launching him that far into the air, and will still eventually end up going down. Another defensive bombardment working its way out here, and at the same time, Caustic's gas grenade going to work its way out too, but Zilak will still result Sultan, excuse me, will still end up going down over the process, and that'll more than likely be the full wipe of Fenrir, as Dynamics still in this fight. The champion from game 1 looking to go for an immediate repeat here in game number 2, and they might just get it as they've already bled their way into the top 7, but a lot of pressure onto them, and just like that, 2 of them are dead. Aimbot Machine, the only one left standing, he goes down. Casuals picking up the trades there, as now they're in control of the situation as we reach top 6.
Oh, and they've got to be happy about this one. CAF is in 6 frags right now, and that's some massive points for this team. They're looking really solid coming into the top 5 squads, and we already have the next engagement. It's Loyalty up against AIE. AIE backed into a corner right now. Any nades or anything could end this situation for them, but it's the firepower. Instead, door closes behind. The Gibby shield, the close engagements. They're both here. The shotgun's in hand, trying to deal the damage, but Alpha Intelligence simply can't take it. Bucks down to the wire as he's actually, I believe, on 1 HP. Finally seal the deal here with the rifle, but oh no, it's not even done. They're still trying to want to run away. Invictus now in some trouble of his own. Hot water for the whole team, and I don't believe that they were able to finish off the Gibraltar. He slides back in. Finally, Kings with the cleanup, and that was just so very scary there for a split second.
Kings getting that battery off just in the nick of time to be able to help out his teammates. Had he not done that, you could have been seeing potentially Bidden and Invictus go down. They turn around, immediately trade him out there. So big clutch from Kings. Will hand off his own Evo shield to one of his teammates, as it seems he's found a red one on the corpse of one of his opponents that he just managed to take down there. They'll spot this Wraith portal on the outside. Obviously not going to hop right into that one. Trying to figure out more where the potential team is that could have come out of it a couple seconds ago, as we're now down to the top 4 and actually almost in the same spot that we had our previous map go down into. But no, the circle's going to close into the open. A big leap from Loyalty. Everyone except Bin goes down, and Bin can't make it any further either. That pushes us into the top 2. Paradox is now one of the only 2 remaining here as they try to go off against the last remaining squad. Artini hopping around like crazy here, trying to avoid his own death, trying to draw the fire from his opponents, as the other 2 still trying to heal themselves back up from the previous engagement. The defensive bombardment coming in from the opponent's Gibby as well here, as they're going to try and hold on to this position as the circle slowly closes in more and more. It's Kafas and DK and Bryant on the other side of this fight in the meanwhile.
Well, we're down to the final 2. It's a 3 versus 3 here, and anyone that gets downed more than likely loses this out for their squad. Paradox already getting lit up, but they were able to overwhelm the team just enough to draw out that Gibraltar ult, and that could mean everything in this moment. They'll continue to be able to play this engagement until this ring gets smaller and smaller, but oh no, it seems like it happens now. They hop in, they found their single target. Nellis with some trouble now. He's been down. The Gibraltar shield working out in their favor, and they are absolutely melting this squad. Casual gamers thrown out the window. This is professional Apex, baby. They're all over this one. Game 2 going to Casual Gamers.
Very well done by Casual Gamers there. They're going to be able to pick up our second map, catching the mistake made by Paradox as they were forced to split off one of their members from the other 2, allowing, for, as Stokes mentioned, that big engagement there to just completely swarm onto the Bloodhound hiding in the corner and disallow any attempt to save that player, giving them the 3v2 for the rest of the fight. So great stuff from them. I mean, a really brutal match for Casual Gamers as well. They were constantly in fights around Lava Fissure going into the mid round. So that's going to be a very, very high point gaining game for them more than likely.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot wait to see this scoreboard update now after what they were just able to do inside of that. So many frags coming through for these guys. And the craziest thing is a lot of those times you thought they were almost in too much trouble to be able to bear it. There were so many squads coming down on top of them. It's just
this chaos right here.
Exactly. And this seemed to happen not only in this area, but also at Skyhook, where we saw a lot of different things pop off. But that second game, that was just fantastic from start to finish.
Some other highlight teams that we saw play of that second match that definitely want to keep an eye on when we get the scoreboard update in a little bit here. Loyalty being able to make it into that top 3. I'm pretty sure sneaking in a couple fight wins is we're going to see right here too. This is the guys with the OnlyFans tags right now. So being able to make their impact, well, again, top 3 finish isn't going to give you the most points. All the kills they came with it is going to combine itself to be a pretty lethal combination on the scoreboard more than likely when we do get those stats on the board for you guys. But all of that is going to be coming up in a bit here as we're getting ourselves ready to cover more of the action with game 3, hopefully right around the corner.
Oh man, I'm getting so antsy for that one. I cannot wait to jump back into this. We're already developing storylines, John. I'm falling in love with this region already. It has only been 2 games.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the second match. Another quick break, and then when we return, it's more of the GLL Masters Spring for South America as we get ready to drop into Game 3. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the GLL Masters Spring for South America. We are well underway here in the grand final, about to jump into our third match out of 16 games to be played between today and tomorrow. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the cast once again is Stokes. And Stokes, what are we looking at here for map number 3? We've had two very similar circles for the first two games, but also two very different results and who's actually coming out in the top 5.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to say. Thank you for bringing that up. The top 5 practically completely different this time around, where we saw casual gamers just grab game 2 by the horns and run away with it. So dominant on every single engagement, from Skyhook
kills.
all the way down to Countdown. I mean, look at this right here, guys. Casual gamers with 14 frags already, and you can see where the huge fallback happened for a lot of these teams from match 2. Singularity without a single point inside of this one.
That could more likely, I think it does, in fact, more likely mean that casual gamers are going to end up taking a pretty big lead here over Dynamics. Dynamics all the way on the second column at number 11, for those of you who missed it. So that's going to bump them down into second by a factor of nearly 10 points as well. That's a huge bump for casual gamers. They're going to be well ahead now due to their last points they just gained on that previous game. They're 18 kills overall, 13 points so far from placement. Obviously didn't see much of them in game 1, but in game 2, we saw really only them firing off on all cylinders, and it's made the difference here on the scoreboard.
Well, a lot of these teams that you and I have been looking into over this last week, John, not finishing in the best spot right now. Honestly, Dynamics at the top of the pile, and this is a team that you and I talking about didn't really expect to be inside of the top 5. I thought they were going to be a top 10 team, but right now being quite strong. If Casual Gamers keeps up this pace, though, I don't know who's going to touch them, but I don't see them getting that amount of frags in every single map, so we'll have to see how that works.
The real story as well on the scoreboard, for those of you who paid attention to the ALGS Cup that happened about a month or so ago, is the fact that Fake Love Black, the winner of that tournament, has gone out last both times. Like I said, just to be fair, little asterisk on that. The first game, pretty sure they got booted out or weren't able to play due to a bug on their end. But even in the second game, first team to be eliminated. So really rough patch for them. But that's kind of the same way their ALGS run started out as well, to be fair. And they were able to rebound pretty heavily on kind of the back 9 of those matches. So we're going to have to see if they can pull off something similar here today, as we've got double the games for them to play.
Yeah, Fake Love Black going to be our essential dark horse here, and we'll see if they can possibly run it back up this entire weekend. I mean, again, we've only had 2 games, guys, so don't get too far ahead of yourselves. Casual gamers could still finish 15th. We don't really know. I mean, until we finish this day, I don't feel like we're going to have the greatest example of what to expect, but games just around the corner, guys. I'm so very excited. I want to see if Dynamics in this next one can actually push back into that top 5.
Yeah, this is when it's going to start to get a little bit crazier now here. We've got some leaders starting to be established off of those first 2 games, but there's still plenty more teams that can suddenly jump into the pit here too. We talked about Fake Love Black. We got a lot of other highlight teams from the last ALGS Cup that haven't really been able to show up in any of these games as of yet either, or for the most part have had relatively minimal impact. You're talking teams like Fenrir, a Singularity as well, I think still hanging around the top 10 overall, but although they've had good results early on with some of their fights, that last map definitely not making the impact that I think they wanted to make, considering the position they go for. And first of all, how much action we've had in their quadrant of the map. Both of these games so far almost entirely contained on the northwest part of the map.
Yeah, and another squad that we saw from that tournament as well, Tempest Esports, which we've seen practically 0 action from. I think we've seen them 1 time throughout this so far, and they actually had some pretty good finishes the last time that we saw them, but as of right now, it's just not working out for them. We haven't seen them getting contested too early on either. I do believe that they're still dropping countdown from the last time that I was able to look at them, but we'll have to see if they can possibly produce anything inside of the matches that we have left today.
The news unfortunately continues to get worse for Fake Love Black here as well, as we just got an update as we're getting ready to load into here to our next game, that unfortunately one of their players unable to load in, so they're actually playing with 2 in the upcoming game also, so not the best prospects for them to bounce back here in game 3.
What have I done?
They've got 12 more, so
Oh, no.
who knows?
I listen. I just want you guys to know I feel terrible if that is a caster's curse. If that's
Yeah,
what we're holding it down as, I really hope not. But oh man,
we're laughing out of the awkwardness of the situation more than anything.
oh
We're definitely not laughing at them.
no,
But yeah, we
feel
should be
for their
jumping into
pain.
the match here any moment, taking a look at the drops and anything crazy at the start here. Let's hop into it, folks. Match 3 getting started as the GLL Masters Spring continues. Let's take a look at where some of our teams are going to be dropped. We're going to go right to casual gamers as well, our champions from match number 2. See if they're going to get up to anything crazy at the beginning here.
And that's what I'm the most excited for. Continuing to see Kafazin's Octane gameplay here is they haven't changed anything up, and you can't necessarily blame them. I mean, this team comp working magic right now and making me a believer in the Octane pick a lot more than I was watching competitive competitive Apex recently. Too many games this week.
Ignore
folks.
him.
Apologies
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that. Yes, ignore me. Anyways,
We've had to jump. We've had to jump. Like lore continuities, like 3 different times this week. So we've gone from R6 to Valorant. Now we're here at Apex. So let's take a look at the map, though. Once again, seeing if we're going to have any. Actually, might have an early engagement. Looking at Fenrir right now, they're very close to AIE once again, who normally tries to drift over towards Trials after their initial drop. So see if anything ends up coming of that. Besides that, though, once again, everything pretty much the same that we've been seeing over the past couple of games here.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that we're going to have any early engagements either. Once again, I honestly think that we could possibly see casuals get back into some stuff. It would be really, really good. But I mean, given the circle, they're not really, being forced to advance. They're more than likely going to wait for the rotations from thermal station and stuff like that, and try and pick up some kills around that harvester area.
That's the good news. The circle finally moved. We didn't get pushed into the northwest part of the map for the 3rd time in a row here, as we've been having fights in the courtyards between Countdown and Trials for the past 2 games to finish off. So a little bit different this time, as we're going to get pushed much more further to the east for this game, potentially changing up the playstyle and activating some more power positions for a couple of our teams, EVL specifically and Singularity, both controlling Fragment West and East right now. And we will follow them very closely to see if that's going to continue, as that will more than likely become a pivotal point for quite a few of our teams trying to rotate in for safe coverage again.
Absolutely. And now with this new circle, it's going to create an entire new dynamic across this entire map. As previously stated, the previous 2 matches finishing up in the northwest area around Skyhook. This time around, actually headed towards the east. So these squads that were very comfortable that last circle now have to hightail it all the way across the map. And with Octane apparently coming more prevalent for a couple of these squads, this could make things quite a bit easier. As we were talking about before, just making me more of a believer inside of this pick when it comes to Octane. Really like the rotations that they're able to pull off, and I can definitely see why he's a good contrast to Wraith now with that pad, with a couple of the very aggressive engagements we've been seeing.
Seeing at least without name catch one of their opponents. Once again, as we've already seen in these past couple of matches, though, no one really going to commit to a fight this early on unless they know they have the capability to shut them down. Not everybody working with purple shields yet. I'm sure suboptimal guns are still in play here too. As you can see, at least one of our players still swapping around with those a bit. Oh, Kafazin running into that scan just at the very far range of it too, I think. So a little unlucky there for him, as he's going to get spotted out, but no actual capability for them to aggress. And in fact, casual gamers are just going to go right back at Paradox, who set out that scan and said, okay, you guys want to scan us? That's fine. We'll shoot at you, send you back to the next building, as they're going to be contained in this 2-story, sitting directly behind casual gamers, who, again, looking like they want to push the envelope even further here. We've got DK and Kafazin both working their way out. Bryant supporting with the covering fire from long range. It's Kafazin looking to get the initiation, and Paradox knows it, so they're on the run. They're going to try to get through this choke point before they get caught.
Nella's trying to hop up the hill. The Gibby shield will assist as well as they escape Geyser. Fantastic stuff for them, as they'll be able to find a break, but could have an engagement right around their corner. FH is here. Neo, as well as Trabs and Wolf, wait right around the bend, but we're actually going to have casual gamers back off, and you can't exactly blame them given the positioning of them on the map. These early engagements, especially given where they are in that circle, are going to be exactly the best unless they want these early KPs, and a lot of them having quite a few firearms, but actually on board with Singularity now, as they've taken quite a bit of damage.
Singularity trying to survive. They've been able to have overall some pretty good games here in the first two matches, specifically with their play on the inside of Skyhook, but now looks like they're being forced into Fragment for this play right here, and it's not going too well for them. You've got one of their players down, two others at low HP. Now they do have the shields to support it, as well as some good aggressive play coming out right now, running around the corner, trying to get revenge on their opponents. The internals of this building making it slightly awkward, but there's a good cutoff from Brands as he goes back up to the second tier balcony to finish off the last remaining member of TCS here. OMM going to jump through the portal as well here. Gives himself the shield to play off of, but unfortunately he's being followed here by worse than some of the members of Phoenix. Going to try and go for the third-party closeout on the Singularity, and oh no, the finisher as well coming out from Worst as they take him down, eliminating OMM, and I believe only leaving one player up for Singularity now.
And that's just a crazy combo there from Phoenix with Clesium as well as Worse. You throw down the Death Totem and immediately hop in there with Octane. That's insane, honestly, if you truly think about it. You can immediately engage so very quickly, and if you die, I mean, it's not permanent. You just go back to being alive, so who really cares? Nice way to chase down that last frag there. Get him one of those oh so grateful KPs. Singularity still alive though, as has apparently been down and dusted. Might have an opportunity to work their way back in and actually pick up these banners, but we haven't seen a res so far inside of either of these games, and I honestly would not be surprised if we hadn't been seeing them anymore. Elite BR actually losing one of their players here that's no longer connected. The SAR also taking some damage. Is this engagement not going too well for them for the time being?
Razor there able to get out of the way of a nade and also dodge a good sniper shot there as they're trying to maintain this high ground position. You can tell just this tiny little pedestal among a field of crates though, so they've got to be careful so as not to be completely overwhelmed by utility, forced down into a relatively open area where it would be very easy to close out upon them. Elite are trying to make up for the lack of a teammate right now with the aggression they have from this high ground, and I'll be fair, to a certain extent it is working. Their opponents on the other side of this engagement are being shuffled back and more than likely going to go to the inside of that vault tunnel to try to get away from this fight if they can't hold on. Plenty of ammo as well here for at least Razor, so they're not going to be limited in any capacity really on this fight.
Well, the real question is, how many mats do you have? If those cells and batteries start to get low, then could mean you're worse for wear for later engagements. But finally, seems as though we're going to be jumping back on board with Casual Gamers, our previous winners, and they're trying to make an aggressive play, but can't actually get a single player up top. It's actually the Gibby to engage first. They tried to go for the jump pad instead. They down a singular player, and he's going to get cleaned up so very quickly. Again, Casual Gamers just making mincemeat out of all of these other squads. Finally, some good damage being dealt to them, though, as this opposing squad actually fights back. Brian now with some trouble of his own as he's almost lost his shield with the movement so strong. Arcstar's out, going to continue laying down the area as well as the ult to try and save face.
Bubble as he goes down to the ground here just to try and keep himself in good straits, and it seems like they might actually be saved by another team here without name suddenly jumping into this engagement, drawing all the attention off of that single remaining Gibby as he tries to get out of the fight and back into a safe corner himself. That's without name causing the chaos there, forcing out at least one other team from Countdown here, or at least forcing them into a new position. The problem for without name though is this Gibby is still right around the corner. They know he's sitting here in the corner. Excuse me, no, this is going to be a different player, I believe, or maybe not. Either way, taking him down. He'll get eliminated. Yeah, that is going to be the Gibby, excuse me. See Bryant ending up getting knocked out there. That'll be the end of that squad.
Oh, we are going to have yet another team coming in as well, and a third, if I'm not mistaken, unless we have some major separation going on here, but make sure to keep you up on that one. Without name, finally finding some decent engagements, and it's been necessary for them inside of match 3. They really need to get on top of this scoreboard early on here. Losers get left behind. They need to start finding these frags. Without name, re-engaging in Fake Love Black. Blue, they're still alive. Granted, Natsu doesn't have a shield. And I mean, Lusquin's only done 39 damage the whole game, and we're almost to the next ring. But I mean, come on.
They're getting jumped on.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to escape the area, though, and they're going to throw that very scary ball as well, trying to shut down those abilities.
The evil ball is what I like to call it.
The evil orb.
But yeah, that silence gonna go out there, hopefully preventing any more
Kraber.
Usman does?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just saw that as well. Okay, so that explains why they're not fighting then, and they're not gonna be leveling up Evo
we're
shield.
keeping this thing.
I mean, we talked about it in the pregame. They came into this match with 2. Their third player couldn't connect for some reason. So more than likely found that right off bat, and then there's like, okay, we're not fighting at all until we absolutely have to. So I imagine it's just a super passive strategy for them to try and carry that Kraber into the late game, where at minimum, right, if it's going to be like a super open circle towards the end, they could try to hide from high ground, get a
Mhm.
couple picks off of with that Kraber,
Yes.
and try to get a couple KPs while trying to place as high as they can.
Right, like that's what I'm saying the play is, right? Or if they're able to maintain high ground, like they get there first and they're able
Yeah.
to somehow have some semblance of info on if someone's going to flank them there, that Kraber is going to knock out so many teams with the amount of damage that thing does. But now that we're looking at the ring, not moving just yet, just going to be moving here in about 35 seconds. Still have quite a few squads, excuse me, that need to pick up the pace, actually work their way in. Quite a few people still around Harvester, and we could possibly have yet another engagement here for them as well.
So still seeing Fly High here keep themselves in a good position, despite the pressure way onto them currently from just past this choke point where they are holding out at. Aside from that, like we said, a lot of people trying to vie for the edge of the circle. You can see our timer getting very low. They're about to close in, or at least start to close in. So trying to be cautious of that. But so many players still in the area by countdown. This was our first big battle zone, if you remember from a few moments ago when we had teams beginning to fight. And it does look like Fenrir, if that was who we had seen previously, looking to try and cut off JC, Panic, and Renz as they try to rotate to their next position.
Yeah, without name here, trying to work their way across the map. They're not going to run into too many problems, though, as they start to cut through the valley. Nobody really on either end. We still have flying high, or not flying high, excuse me, fake love black all the way across the area. But as we were talking about before, more than likely not going to catch an engagement. Possibly just, again, set up high, try and get some intel with that long range scope. But a lot of these squads going to play this close to the chest. This is where things start to get dicey as they continue to get constricted on this map. And you can see Fenrir already finding some problems. They want to try and reassess the situation. They'll move Zillage up close with the teleporter. Sonar detected now here for them, but they're actually going to reposition back through. It's going to give them a really strong opportunity here, as that other squad really isn't going to want to take that portal.
This is going to be the without name squad that we saw running away from Fenrir just a couple of seconds ago. And now look at this. They're pressing forward. They're going to re-engage. Zoltam getting hit by that Arc Star, going to hurt him pretty heavily. The circle will start to close in on these guys too. Oh no, this rock they've chosen to use as their coverage point, going to be outside of it as well, so they have to try and push themselves in. That's a certain point here. That's going to be some good damage going in, forcing Natsu back to go for another re-engagement here, as potentially Fake Love going to try to get a piece of this as well here. But now the defensive bombardment coming in without name, going to be forced back as a result of that. Good amounts of damage going specifically onto JC, but he's found a safe spot. Is going to try to heal himself up here too.
Has Fenrir actually pushed back deeper into the circle and played for their meds instead? This is incredible. Fake Love Black also, I'm assuming, with an engagement from the rear. We saw them earlier on. Remember, they're only down to 2 people, and they're within, well, they're actually outside of the distance of Bloodhound's ability here. No reconnaissance available.
They may have snuck through their portal there and then ran away through that, I believe, was what we may have ended up having happen for them. But either way, Fenrir are going to survive that, keep themselves in a good position to continue to play this out, as they are able to get out of that very awkward fight against without name. Seems only 2 of them made it, though. Zoltam and Zillash going to have to try and survive here now for Fenrir, as they're wrapping back around through countdown once again.
I wonder if they got the banner and if that's even the play at this moment for them.
Actually,
no, they survived the whole thing. They got away and played the meds all the way through the circle. That is just such big brain and incredible stuff from them.
So it still has to try and make the run for them here, as have not reached safe harbor just as of yet. The problem is their opponents are going to be waiting for them on the other side of that one too. Got a quick glimpse of them. Loyalty in the meantime in the midst of wiping out AIE, and I believe they've completed that entirely here. AIE trying to keep themselves in the fights. Only one of them going down from what our team tracker shows us, though, so keep up with them a little bit later on here, as we're going to see Loyalty quickly try to take out. I think that might be a second one going down now. There you go. That's Bucks getting eliminated by Bin.
Well, it seems like the rest of the squad would like to have a word with Loyalty, but they're not answering the door right now. We'll see if they are home later on. Possibly Kings with an engagement. He's going to pop the Gibraltar shield quite early on here, but jumping on board with Team Brave Soldiers, they're in their own engagement, and there is a lot of hellfire and brimstone being tossed around. I mean, look at this. Gibby down. They've taken quite a bit of damage. Lucky really needs to get some health back, but now Arc Stars coming down on top of him as well. He goes for the reposition to try and help out Sada, but now asleep in some trouble in the reposition, finding him in hot water as well. Phoenix bearing down on top of everyone with the Spitfire.
Luki just not having what he needed to play that one out there. Already at incredibly low HP, just a single sliver left. Had the full shields to work off of, but that was it. So unfortunately, he's going to be the last one to fall for his team as they'll get knocked out, and that pushes us down to 13 teams overall still in the game. Antisocial Aimers going for a big dive here against one of their opponents. That's going to be Aimbot getting knocked out next here. Two more still up and running for this squad, but it seems as though Antisocial Aimers making a big impact against this one, knocking them out entirely. That's going to take down another squad there, bringing us down by one more. And that's not the only fight as well. Cryptipio, excuse me, getting himself into an engagement there too, knocking down Candy. As the chaos continues, this circle closing seems to be the one that's going to wipe out the large majority of the server here. A defensive bombardment, keeping the pressure on to Antisocial Aimers as a new squad coming in to try to capitalize upon the fight they just took. But no, Antisocial Aimers are ready for the engagement there. Some great fire coming out from Kalef. He's going to be able to nearly down one of the players that tried to jump on.
And Novak's got his shield back as well as the crypto drone out. This is such a strong position for them. They can definitely engage here, just looking for the intel, and they're going to find so much right now. Good amount as well, but actually not going to hop on things just yet. And just second guessing here as to what they can possibly do have the high ground. They're going to continue to be able to play this for quite some time given the circumstances. Looking back at the ring timer, actually 1 minute and 10 seconds left before this ring starts to collapse, and given that they're right outside of this next circle, that's not going to be too big of a deal for them. So instead they'll go back, grab some nice mats out of the death boxes here, and actually drop everything on the ground for his squad. Turo right now really assisting out on everybody. But oh no, here's the issue. The engage came through from the other team and they weren't ready for it. Novak's been down. Caleb's shield completely dusted. Turo with the crossfire needs to be able to help out with this sniper, but not able to do so. The charge rifle not dealing enough damage, and Phoenix team dealing so much right now.
The charge rifle enough to hold back against the death protection and try to send a couple of those players back to where they started from, but it's not going to hold back this secondary assault that's coming in now. That's going to wipe out a large majority of the team holding back here and give the advantage to Phoenix. If you caught our team tracker a couple moments ago, you'll have noticed both of the previous winners also eliminated right now. So we will have a new champion on our third game and potentially a new contender for first place, or within at least the top 3 so far in our tournament. More results on that to come, of course, though, as we are still in the midst of action without name, getting pressed down only onto Renzera. Very little opportunity for him to revive either Panic or JC. In fact, he's given up the bait entirely and is just backing away for survival now. Even that's going to be difficult to achieve here, though. The silence jumps onto him. Not going to be able to port away from this fight. Can't even get himself a heal. Tries to survive, but no. Goes down to Zilak. Does Fenrir continue their tear?
Oh, what a play from Fenrir right there. Fantastic stuff as they're continuing this onslaught of damage to anyone inside of the tri-state area, bearing down on yet another squad. But Paradox seems to have some good, strong positioning of their own. Spitfire on top of the mountain, but doesn't have very many LMG rounds left inside of this heavy. Able to deal quite a bit of damage, but he's more than likely going to have to switch to the Mastiff sometime soon. Finally gets a shield down, and that's another squad done and dusted as Fenrir dealt with handedly.
Fenrir seem to be on a run, but not going to be able to make it past the top 4. Flying high, trying to close this one down. They'll lose Wolf, but Nickhock's getting himself some great play here right now on the Spitfire. Absolutely unloading damage. Trabs, though, making much bigger impact for Flying Highs. He's going to come in, and now, look at this. Coliseum doing the exact same thing with his own Mastiff. Final 2, but it's not going to stay that way for very long. Phoenix has the high ground. Phoenix has the capability to close out, and Phoenix team is going to take our third game of the day.
Was not expecting that one. The kills were rolling through so quickly, you didn't even realize how many squads were left right there. It's just engagement every single time. And the craziest thing to think about with that is that all popped off with Fenrir engaging onto Antisocial Aimers, and that was what we were talking about before. I assumed that we were going to see Antisocial Aimers hop onto that team given the circumstances, especially with the intel that came in from them. They knew they had the Revenant. They knew they had the ability to get aggressive with that Octane as well, and that's exactly what happened. They didn't seem prepared. The crypto's too far forward. The positioning is just not good for them. Fenrir cleans up that engagement and then just steamrolls the rest of the lobby. I mean, that looked like more of a frag movie for them throughout that series than anything.
Yeah, definitely the case. It was once again those choke points and the fact that we were fighting in such an open area there towards the end caused a chain of fights to go down there. As you said, starting with the antisocial aimers jump, followed up by Fenrir, and then our final two teams trying to sort of figure things out from that point forward. But everybody being in such close proximity to each other at that point that it spurred the fight on. You could see it here at the start of it. Everybody being forced out into the open, not really being able to fight over one single structure or city on this map made it a very chaotic closing few moments of the game here with just no room to hide for many of these engagements as you're seeing now.
No, not at all. And that's the biggest thing, right? Like, there's no cover here. The only area in which there was cover is exactly where Phoenix is standing. Otherwise, you have very small rocks and everything else where higher ground is more than likely going to get you in trouble. So they have to contest that area, and Phoenix just better when it comes to the high ground. You know, I think we've all learned our lesson from a couple of movies with that one.
Yeah, definitely the case. So Phoenix getting themselves a very much needed win as they've been looking to make impact on the scoreboard. Paradox as well, sneaking in the second place placement is potentially going to be good for them to try and push themselves a little bit further up on the scoreboard too, as they believe they're within close contention of the top 10 currently, and that should serve to push them further into those rankings. That's all going to be coming up in a little bit here, folks. When we come back from the break, we will have a lot more of an update as with regards to the game score for game 3 there, as well as our current overall standings. Remember, we're only just a little bit into it here. 16 games total to be played out between today and tomorrow, so we're just under halfway done with the action for today.
And there, as you said, so much action to come. That's what I'm excited for. I mean, every single match, it seems that we have somebody else on top. That last one, our previous two winners, done and dusted. Brand new one on top of it. And guys, we're not going to hold you up any longer. Let's get to this break so we can get back into the action. See you then.
And we're back again, ladies and gentlemen, ready for more action here at the GLL Masters Spring event. We are well on our way into covering the South American Grand Finals. 16 games need to be played out between today and tomorrow. We've already played out 3 of them with very different winners coming across the board. Let's take a look at the statistics from our third game, which just got completed, and get ready to jump into the fourth. Stokes, what's going on here with the overall placements? Remember, folks, this is just for match 3.
All right. Well, with match 3 blue, a lot of big change-ups. The big one for us has got to be Phoenix winning this out. The previous 2 matches, not really showing off what this team could possibly do, but this third match, they made their name known. 12 points for the placement for ranking first, and then 14 kills, totaling for 26 points in total. That's some insane standings to try and gain through.
On the opposite side of the coin, you can see Casual Gamers and Dynamics way down the field this time around at 14th and 15th place respectively. Only 1 and 2 points going to those two teams, meaning we're in for a change-up once again on the standings. Wow. Dynamics, our original winner, pushed all the way down to 5th place. Paradox taking 4th. Flow Nocturnes up in 3rd now due to their consistent high placement, as well as 12 kills overall throughout the games. Casual Gamers still hanging on to 2nd due to their great run back in game number 2, but Phoenix team very much taking over now with 44 points overall.
Oh, and antisocial aimers blue in 15th right now. I felt like they were doing better than this position, but apparently not. We've seen Team Brave Soldiers also pop up a handful of times. Phoenix too, not having the greatest time right now either, but I feel like a lot of these teams are starting to warm up. I mean, the biggest thing once again is consistency. As we were talking about before, we saw Singularity pop off. We were praising them all throughout that match, but now they've gone silent. We need to see these teams find their consistency and finishing inside of that top 5.
It seems like they're being put into a bit of an awkward spot at the start of every game here, since they don't have, they've got a loot zone. Like, don't get me wrong, they've got places to find what they need, but they never necessarily seem to get enough. And sometimes we're seeing them have to hop around between a couple different places, either trying to start a fight relatively early on in the game in order to make up for that, or continue to move around the map to look for more options. And that's leading to them, I think, getting caught on at least one of our games so far here, leading to an early elimination compared to the first game, where they had it was either a fragment or skyhook control really early on, had everything they needed, and were able to just for the most part kind of farm kills in the early game there, ultimately getting eliminated on the rotate out of skyhook in the late game, but still the kills they had made up the difference and kept them on the scoreboard. No longer that seems to be the case, however, based on the performance in games 2 and 3, so we're going to have to see if they can pick that up once again.
Yeah, where in our previous matchup, we saw Casual Aimers end up taking that one out. Actually, Now that I think about it, casual. Oh no, 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 no! I'm thinking about antisocial and casual, switching it back and forth.
You're
I was
crossing
like,
your
wait a
wires there.
minute, wait a minute for 2 seconds there. But anyways, what I was going to say actually is going back to that point with singularity inside of Skyhook. I honestly think that's why they're having so many problems right now. Is Skyhook seems to be the hot commodity, even when the circle's not there. We're having quite a few engagements there. This last time around, that's where we saw Phoenix go, and they were so strong on every single one of those engagements there, and that's where they found a decent amount of these frags. But finally, guys, we're into game 4, and we're hopping on board with our previous winners.
Phoenix team once again coming out on top of the previous matchup there. A very chaotic affair at the end of game number 3. Multiple teams trying to capitalize off of previous engagements and third party their way to victory. But the final 3-team fight ended up going into the favor of Phoenix squad, giving them the current edge as well as the overall lead in the series as we drop into the 4th match.
All right. Well, looking through the map to see where everyone will be starting us off. Doesn't seem like we're going to have too many engagements, except for a possible one going down, I believe, at the bottom of the map. We're here near like tree area. Yes, it seems like we already have an early engagement going on here. What could possibly go wrong for either of these teams? Some possible low health. Hopefully hopping on board here with them soon. See exactly what's going on.
See if we can jump in there and see exactly what these squads are getting up to, as that may very well lead to the elimination of one of our teams very early on. And there we go. That's going to be, I'm pretty sure, one team wiped off the board. There's the kill feed, as one of our teams already going to be gone from the mix here within just that first, honestly, like minute or two of post-drop play. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's our first like true early round engagement that we've seen. Going down on tree, and Insomnia winning the engagement as well, so that'll bode well for them early on, not only getting those KPs but also having a strong start here. But oh no, we could already see casual gamers. They're on the prowl and they are looking for this engagement.
Insomnia know it, though. You can see them immediately turning tail. They can't be in the best position when you consider all of the damage more than likely they had to take from the previous fight, on top of the fact that they haven't had a whole lot of time to loot here, so could be a little low on things like shield cells as well. Regardless, though, we are going to see casual gamers work their way, or excuse me, we're going to see another squad work their way in here to try to push them out of position, and it seems to have worked pretty well here, as the team is going to be sent out from tree here, trying to play over towards Countdown. Looks to be their next destination.
Yeah, still early beginnings here for all of these teams. So, and a lot of map still to cover. Haven't even covered that first ring just yet. You can see everyone still trying to find their area, get this loot, work their way forward on board. The paradox for the time being, though, is Kings hasn't been able to upgrade his shield, but that's not the worst thing in the world when it comes to that, especially given Gibby. I mean, having that face shield for yourself, make it to where they can only shoot necessarily half of your body, that's a pretty big deal. But actually, the rest of the team no longer having pink shields as well. I think I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, Kings and the rest of Loyalty here just trying to pop off a couple shots on the people retreating from Geyser, so nothing major going on there. The circle, just to talk a little bit about that for a second, is obviously that's popped up now. Oh, okay, maybe not here. We're going to have a drone EMP work its way in. Another engagement potentially boiling up over the next couple of seconds here too. We've got a team on top. The squad down below looking like they tried to swing for some type of initiation here, but after the EMP goes off, they don't seem too convinced in their capability to play this out anymore. A few of these guys just gonna hang out at the bottom of the rope. Look at that camera work. Give that guy give our cameraman an Emmy for that one. That was some good stuff.
Is that Quentin Tarantino with this direction, or what is that?
I mean, come around the rope, fancy. I love it.
Yeah, now what we need is a really, really close-up shot of just like someone breathing or not saying words or something. I don't know. Make it very dramatic.
We need plot for this movie.
EA, hit us up. We got the Apex movie inbound. Don't worry about it. It'd be great.
We found our camera.
No, Alpha Intelligence now inside the building. Beast of the Hunt already already activated for ZRO as he's trying to transition into the second floor. Gibby manning the door, playing this perfectly as of now, and they're actually just going to shield across from each other instead. Scanor actually being finished off as well. Phoenix hopping into the mix here as well. Just damage going back and forth from all of these squads. No clear winner just yet, as Twitch is going to get scanned yet again.
Going to see Twitch try to make it out of this engagement here. Remember, he still has both of his teammates alive. He's kind of on his own jumping into this fight right now, so he'll end up getting knocked out, or knocked down, I should say, at least. We'll catch up later to see if he actually survives the encounter or if his teammates are going to be able to revive him. Fender, in the meanwhile, still at Skyhook and still maintaining the control of Skyhook, really going for the crunch on one of their opponents on the other side. I'm unsure if this is going to be Elite BR or another squad that lands in the area, but no, that's Phoenix, just to correct myself real quickly there, as they try to finish off the other two players after already downing one a couple of moments ago. That's all the action really going on in Skyhook, though, just between those two squads, which is quite a departure from what we've normally had with so many teams vying for control over this part of the map. We have a much more centralized circle this time, meaning there's a lot more battles going on.
Well, it looks like Harvester is about to be very action-packed here in just a split second. We've got 3 squads, possibly 4. We have a rotation from the green team come on up. But you guys can see, as well as the second ring here, that green one, completely filled with squads right now. Everyone finding their buildings and trying to play this safe. But oh no, we could also have some engagements going on over here. Does it seem like Monkey wants to try and take on this building? But there's just so many people around this area right now for all of these teams. Without name here as well, and Tempest actually vacating, but no, it's actually the engagement. The death totem out. They've gotten on top of the building, trying to find any member right now, able to actually work their way in. Some really strong damage to start things off. They're going to down what seems to be the Wraith here now, as oh no, they're cleaning up shop. Everyone done and dusted. The death boxes now lay silently on the floor.
That's going to be Tempest making some good impact. Quickly dodging away from the area too, but oh no, oh no, catching one of the members of another team completely unawares. That, I believe, was the last player standing for Insomnia, leading to them getting eliminated now.
That's a really, really strong engagement from Tempest. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? With Tempest and how everything works here in the GLL, you're basically just giving points away. And that's got to be so hard when you're rotating through these areas when the ring's coming in. I mean, Tempest just simply tried to relocate so they can shield back up, go back in, loot what they need, then rotate to another area. And what happens when they go back? They run into the last Insomnia member. So just very unfortunate when it comes down to it.
Either way, already seen quite a few squads getting dropped out very early on in this game. 4 dead, 16 remaining here. And we do have, as you can see, JC and Panic sitting right outside of the Casual Gamer's current bunker. In fact, Panic able to spot out Kappas and trying to pop off some shots onto him. Not too much success overall. And unfortunately, now losing the element of surprise. Both these teams going to have to try and vie with each other, because they are right next to each other. And oh, okay, maybe not. Panic and JC deciding probably not the best time to stick around here. They're going to fall back, regroup with Renazera. See if Without Name is going to be able to find a better position to jump back on Casual Gamers at any point.
I think that this is just a war between neighbors at the moment. You know, one of them just trying to prove that they're a better gardener, that their lawn looks better, or something along those lines. I'm sure you guys can get that one figured out.
Just a neighborly dispute, ultimately.
Yeah, it just involves rifles, and that's about it. You know, it's fine. It's casual fun. We have a really good time with it. We still go to each other, you know, each other's houses for like Thanksgiving and football games.
So moving forward from this point, we did see another squad getting wiped out. I believe that's Flying High that's been eliminated. Just checking out the kill feed real quickly there. So Corinne, in the meanwhile, the last player alive for Dynamics. That is going to be a risky stim considering how low he is right now. Trying to pop off these syringes to keep him in contention to be able to make it. And oh man, just got that one off in time. Once again, gonna have to keep spamming these though. Can he make it? Can he get to a safe spot in time? Or is he ultimately going to be bled out here? And there we go. That's going to be Jinx from another fight getting taken care of. Zillash not in the greatest position here either. And keep in mind, these guys are outside of the circle right now. One shot is all that's needed to take out Zillash. Tremandra and Zoltan nowhere to be seen from what I can tell. Here they come. Tremandra going to work his way in. Does have time to get the revive off onto Zillash. So all hope is not lost as of yet for Fenrir.
Yeah, but a big problem right now for them with the circle being here. This is a very drastic situation, given it doesn't do very much damage, but it does build up over time. As we're seeing, Zoltan taking quite a bit of damage as well, and see how he's down someone. Could go for the engage in any other scenario, but he's going to have to go back and use one of these med kits. The team will have to assist him right now. Zillash stepping up to the plate. Some very consistent shots onto Ka Razor here. He'll actually end up dipping out. Dips back towards the circle, and he's actually playing this very safely for now. More than likely, oh no,
Oh
I think
my
the circle's
goodness.
actually going to get him. He's down to 1 HP, but he's made it instead. It was actually us that were inside of the circle on this one. Karazer going to make it away with literally a sliver of HP.
And the good news for him, looking at our third person POV right now, is he's got clear skies and clear fields for the foreseeable run that he has in front of him. So he's going to have time to get that shield back up to full and heal himself as well after just barely making it out of that one. That, I believe, is the last player standing for Elite BR. The last hope for them is they're going to try to play for placements now with that last player overall else.
Blue, can we please get the epicenter weather report? I would really, really appreciate it, you know.
What do you mean?
I just want to know what the weather's like over at Epicenter. You know, we're hanging out. I figured you had, you know, you said it was clear skies. I figured you had the news, man.
We'll check in on that in a moment here. Krim's got himself.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you, production. It's looking quite stormy out there with a chance of sky vortexes, apparently, from what's coming up on top there. Also, raining boxes from the sky, thanks to our friends at the Apex games as well. So be sure to be on the lookout for that.
Apparently it's quite cold here as well, as this ice is all stayed, and I'll have to see.
That's our fault. That wasn't there originally.
that doesn't happen naturally, in case anyone was wondering. Oh man, human beings, aren't we fantastic? And speaking of which, Tempest now chasing down Octane. This is some Octane on Octane action. This is a track meet if I have ever seen one, and they are chasing this man down. A cheetah and his prey, and Tempest win this one all the way. Deathbox now down. They'll clean that up and start hightailing it towards the circle. Don't want to take too much damage here.
Once again, that's just the remnants of one of the squads. We had a couple players get put into that awkward scenario inside of this game so far because of so many early fights transpiring. A lot of squads are rocking -1 or -2 players at this point, leading to a couple stragglers trying to survive. But as you can see, not having the best run of that overall. Paradox might be one of those squads that's down to 2 here, as I can only see Nellis and Artini. In the meantime, it looks like Without Name have made it into a structure across from them, but you still have casual gamers as well, 2 of them at least, between DK and one of their other teammates sitting right behind it. This is going to be a very, very awkward scramble for the team sitting in the middle of this.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. This seems to be being made up to be a mad dash. Nellis, possibly with some nice shots here. He does have that R301, and it's built for range right now with his 3x scope. He's finding all of the information for his teammates, but they're simply going to wait on this engagement, and you can't exactly blame them. They want things to pop off and be the one to third party, not to be the one that gets third partied. Casual gamers playing more of the same style as we saw the previous time. They're not having to be as aggressive as they had to, at least on that last engagement inside, that we saw in the last match. Given the space that they have now created, they might possibly have to worry about some rotations coming in from Epicenter, though.
Fake Love still surviving here as well, but might not be staying that way for very long. Loose Squid taking some heat there. They do have their third with them this time, by the way, just in case anybody was curious about that. But some fire going to come in from across the way. That's Candy throwing in the shots. Monkey as well, potentially getting into this fight. Probably not going to see this devolve into anything complete, though, since these guys are very far away from each other. That would take a long jump to get them close. And the other problem is you've got the OnlyFans tags rocking on the other side of this area as well here, so they'll have to be very careful of that. Fake Love more than likely well aware of the fact that they have this other team within close contention to them, so not going to be wanting to try to get aggressive on their own regard. In fact, they're getting deeper into that facility.
Yeah, casual gamers playing this one quite close to the chest, but now Singularity, they find Wraithen. Oh no, you have to feel so bad for Karazer right here. He's been trying so hard to finish inside of the top 10, and Singularity simply walk into him. They don't have anyone when it comes down to actual reconnaissance. They simply stumble upon him inside of a building.
They stumble upon a casual hacker man holding himself to the inside of that building. Just look, he's even in the room with computers and everything too. That's where he was meant to be. How dare you kill Singularity? But either way, that's going to knock them out. We do have a Prowler sitting on his corpse from what I can tell too, so that'll more likely get picked up by Singularity, giving them that weapon to work off of here.
And that's going to be the last. Excuse me, buddy. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to tread on your territory. I'll back off. I promise. Elite BR, though, that's going to be the last bit of them as these last handful of circles are starting off now. Oh, looks like Fake Love possibly finally find this engagement. They've worked their way on top of the rock, as well as it seems like OnlyFans has known they've been here. And yes, some bullets exchanging back and forth. So it seems like things have already begun since we hopped back in. Some good damage being dealt back from casual gamers as they're simply waiting for the circle to push out their enemy, but they're going to be waiting for quite some time. As we finally reached round 4 here, and the ring hasn't started closing in. Got 2 minutes until that next move.
Elysium gets the spot onto one player trying to hold a high ground position there, as well as capitalize on that crate dropping down onto the ground. Aside from that, you can obviously see this big grouping of players down over here at the very edge of Fragment East, just on the side of the circle. No one really wanting to jump into anyone's territory here too, but the circle gonna force all 4 of these squads out of position at some point in the next minute and 30 seconds, meaning we are going to have a mad scramble, and that's putting it lightly to try and stay alive here as these teams are gonna get forced to move. Zoltan, the first to try and jump into a fight against Fenrir. Oh no, the EMP used from up above. There's no way Fenrir can stop that. Just has to bow down, take the 50 shield loss here. Nades working their way in as well, but thankfully they've got the caustic to play off of here as gas grenade going down onto the ground as well. The silence chucked in by their opponents, but not going to make the impact necessary. Zilak still has the countered angle here to fend off his opponents as they work their way in, but now another caustic grenade thrown by the opponent's squad. That's not going to matter though. Zilak finds the down onto Kahina, taking him down. Azale, the entire squad going down, as it seems like from another fight there, they're going to be eliminated. But meanwhile, here in the engagement with Fenrir, still trying to survive, still trying to fend off any of these flanks that are being lurked around him, and doing a good job of keeping them in relatively full HP at the process. The problem is though, they've only got 35 seconds left to end this here before they're going to be forced out due to the circle being moved. And that circle already at stage 4, not going to be kind to them here. They need to try and stay out of it.
And that timer now dangerously low. Last time 2 minutes, now 20 seconds. The Octane flies down the staircase, but he's absolutely melted. They work their way upstairs. The other caustic does deal some damage. Those are immediately going to be subsided as the entire squad has been wiped. Another re-engagement here, but Fenrir's ready for it. They've been so strong inside of this building so far. It's going to be up to Zoltan to try and hold things down while Zilich tries to get this shield battery popped off. They really need to get these meds online, and they will do so, but they've been cursed. At least Zilich has. He's not going to be able to use his abilities for the time being. That circle finally closing now as Fenrir works their way off of this, but still have to worry about that other squad with the flank. Now jumping back on board here with casual gamers is DK. He takes so much damage and he's actually been dusted here. Oh no. It seems like finally Novak and the squad with some hope.
Trying to stay alive now as we get down to the bitter end of this circle. Fenrir still in the fight, having successfully made it out of Fragment. Unsure if they wiped the squad they were going up against a moment ago, but now we've got Monkey, KNDY, and Folk still stuck into a corner here as well, and slowly getting closed in upon by Paradox to their right side. That's not even counting the pressure that's already on them to their left flank here too. This is such an awkward stack here for them. They're right in the middle. They're sandwiched here, and Paradox know it. Paradox spotting them out really for just the first time, but trying to hop over there from the looks of things is Artini trying to get in position to get up and maybe start a pinch to fully take out this squad. At the same problem, the squad engaging our friends Folks, Candy, as well as Monkey here in the middle of this fight also seem to be taking fire from the left, but not nearly enough to draw them off of this squad they're currently focused on in the middle. There's Nellis finally jumping on to Monkey's team here, but still not able to fully commit to it. They're holding on. They're holding on just in this tiny little corner, and it's surprising to see them able to maintain this position. Now another squad comes in on the back flank, though, and that's going to be the killing deal. It seems Singularity will finally break this hold that it seems so good up until the final moment. Now they're going to jump up on top, try to see if they can get themselves against Paradox, too, but Paradox, great shots coming down. Not only are they able to down DMM, but they force Brand back, and now they're going to be aggressive. No, what a mistake. They're going to lose their Octane as a result of that. Artini going down. Baskinella is still in the fight, though. They've downed Brands. They've downed a second player as well here, trying to isolate the third, but it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. The good news is they got their entire team back up, so they're once again at full strength as soon as they get these batteries off.
The reposition works out for Paradox as they hop all the way over the rock, but the engagement isn't done just yet. Elysium still rocking the top of that, as well as don't forget about our friends Fenrir too, as well as antisocial aimers across the way that could always become a factor at any moment. Paradox trying to hightail it away from this circle. This thing's going to start to do more and more damage, and there's Fenrir like we were talking about before, but now these squads more than likely going to be running into each other. Elysium and the other team dipping across the way, but as they're all trying to escape the circle, Singularity with some trouble, Elysium all on his lonesome, and he's the last one alive. He's dusted. The circle claims the kill. Paradox seemingly on top of the situation. Ult's coming in. Everyone on red Evo shields as well, and we're already down to 4 squads.
Paradox seems to have control over the large majority of the high ground right now, but no, they don't know the positions of their other squads still in this one. Artini going to be out in the open as a result of that. Has to give up the red shields and downgrade himself to a blue. We've got another squad hiding out way in the depths of the train tunnel, sitting under Paradox right now, and they'll have no clue about that squad either unless sound intel is given out. So there's potentially another wrinkle that's going to work its way into the shirt here for Paradox, as they're still dealing with Fenrir way across the map right now and seemingly don't have the range to contest this from what we can tell so far.
Oh, Paradox trying to build up right now for this engagement. They've already thrown down the pad. Best does have his shield as well. See if they want to try and get aggressive here. But just remember, Besk not having a close range weapon for the time being. Does have the R301 they can always use with hip fire. We all know how strong that is in this game. But as you can see, they're trying to build up ultimate right now with the accelerants. They want to try and bombard this squad, deal some damage, and then engage off of that. This is such smart gameplay right now from the Paradox squad, really abusing this high ground.
Fenrir continuing to wait out the circle in the meanwhile here, as it's going to come down to the wire. 8 seconds left until that will begin to close in before these teams will get pushed out of their currently relatively safe positions. Zoltan specifically there, as you can see, just taking a bit of chip damage from his shield, but not anything he can't heal up very quickly with a cell. And here we go, folks. Final round closing in. Fenrir are going to be pushed out from this truck they've been using for the past minute or so to continue putting pressure onto Paradox on the other side above the train tunnel. There is still the team. Remember, 3 left, not 2 here. So there's still the 3rd squad hiding out inside of the train tunnel as well. That's potentially going to try and sneak in a win for themselves. All 6 getting revealed by Fenrir. They have the full intel. Now they just have to deal with the merge from the circle.
Oh, Fenrir and the circle work its way in, but they're going to have to try and escape out of the doors, and that's the big problem right now. Huge EMP here as well, as Maestro Jeff and the rest of the squad still holding on to this train position. This could really be any man's game. Fenrir with a huge problem right now. They have to try and run outside and save their life. Paradox knows what's going to go on as well. They start wiping the floor with them as soon as they get outside. Fenrir see the people down low as well, and there's so many caustic traps. Look at the amount of gas. Paradox continue to get to play this high position, and it's just too strong to try and handle. They continue to play down into this valley. No matter the reposition from either of these squads, seemingly walking away with every single thing that is thrown at them. Just too much power when it comes down to the end of it, and that's another strong finish for them.
Paradox, a well-deserved closeout there on our 4th game of the day. Like Stokes had been mentioning, power position to play off of there on top of that train tunnel, and never really forced out of it. Unfortunately, Fenrir knew that their position was on a clock. They tried to keep throwing pressure onto their opponents, and to be fair, it looked like for a moment Paradox really didn't have the coverage to fight back against that, but Fenrir had to hold back, I believe under the name of trying to preserve their own mats when they had to go for the mad scramble on the circle. So they stopped trying to be aggressive. They stopped forcing anything out. The 3rd team down below as well, never really a threat, unfortunately, just because of the outright top-down advantage they had over them. So all they really had to deal with was Fenrir, and once that had been taken care of, just the cleanup on the second-to-last squad in order to get the win. Great play overall from Paradox, especially in the closing moments of that game.
Oh, it was so very strong, but we have to give it to Fenrir here as well. This team already a winner of one of our matches today, and they're finishing high on the leaderboard once again. And I do believe there for a split second they were indeed kill leader, at least one of them was, with 5. So we'll see if that is going to hold up as well once we get the scoreboard up later on for you guys. But what a match we just had right there. I mean, especially with what felt like a lot of singles getting away from these engagements where they were able to try and delay time, maybe get some more points with those placements.
A lot of people getting jumped on like right at the beginning of the game as we saw that fight happen. For those who remember, literally off of drop at tree, 2 squads actually landing next to each other for the first time so far that we've had in this series, leading to at least one battle going down there. And I mean, it wasn't the only one. I believe in Fragment, possibly Skyhook as well, there was 1 or 2 more engagements that led to the elimination of a couple players relatively prematurely, leaving a couple straggler squads alive up until the very end there, and a couple of those awkward moments that we managed to catch. The Crypto most notably getting caught out there there in the middle of the computer room. But either way, that's going to close out. We've officially reached the halfway point for the day. We're going to take a short break, folks. When we do come back, we've got more action here at the GLL Masters Spring Game 5. Hey, we're back once again, folks. Almost like you expected us. Welcome back once again to the GLL Masters Spring. That's the South American Finals. We've officially reached the halfway point for the day with 4 of our games being completed. Let's take a look at the stats and see how exactly Game 4 panned out. Stokes, what do we got here?
Oh man, that last match, so exciting, especially if you're a Paradox Esports fan. I mean, they just seemingly, excuse me, could not have done wrong inside of that last matchup. But here's the final scoreboard, folks. Some good updates here for a lot of these teams, most notably Singularity BR hopping back up into the mix of things, as well as Tempest, Phoenix 2, and Antisocial Aimers starting to get up near the top of this scoreboard.
Flow Nocturnes getting themselves an overall good placement for that one as well, considering they've been struggling to make the impact. And now that's going to push them up pretty heavily here. They've got some good placement finishes, 14 kills overall. It's actually pushed them into 3rd place completely for 41 points. Paradox is now leading the way as well, following up that victory at 53 points, with 31 of those coming from placement and, of course, 22 kills. Overall for Frags, though, it's still Phoenix team in the lead with 28 kills overall, but still behind by 6 for first place there at 47.
And Phoenix has been looking so strong, with Worst leading the pack in that one. And that's the craziest thing. I mean, looking at this team and doing research on them, Blue, going through this entire roster, he's actually the only one that doesn't have his own Liquipedia page, which is the funniest thing because he's the one that's getting all of the frags for them right now. I mean, this team is playing so well together. I'm really, really excited for them. If they continue to place high here, they can really, really take it to Paradox.
Definitely the case. The field of the competition is getting more and more tight, though, as we actually work our way through these games and start to really have some true stat leaders in the actual kills department, as well as the placements departments, too, to see who's going to be leading, at least for day number 1 here, our statistics overall for the tournament. Keep in mind, folks, that the action is not going to be concluding by the end of today. We'll be following it up, as well as the other 2 regions that we covered in our previous 2 streams earlier, tomorrow with 8 more matches in order to close this down and truly solidify winners in each of those 3 regions for the weekend. That's going to be APAC, North, MEA, and of course right here in South America, for anyone who was curious about that.
Lots of Apex Legend action, folks, so make sure you guys are not moving that browser and you're tuned in all weekend to see all of this action, because it doesn't seem to be slowing down since our first match up until this last one. It has just gotten hotter and hotter by the moment, and here we go once again, ladies and gentlemen. We're out of the drop ship and we're into battle.
Take a look, see if we'll have any early game fights. There was contention in a tree in the very last round there, which led to at least 1 squad getting wiped out before they could even really get started. We'll follow Paradox first here, though, since, well, they're our winners again. So we'll keep an eye on them, see if anyone is going to immediately try to challenge them, bump them down the rankings, maybe by knocking them out early. But not going to be the case, as that would more than likely be a sacrificial sort of jump in there, as you'd have a 3rd team try to come in there and mess with that as well. So everybody going to keep their distance for the most part here at the start. No initial engagements from what we can see right off the drop.
And so far, Paradox's consistency has really stood out amongst everything. Yes, they've been lighting up the scoreboard inside of frags as well, but continuing to place high and make it a struggle for a lot of these teams to attempt to catch up. Remember, guys, we still have quite a few matches going on, so make sure to just pay attention to what's going on the top of that board or top of that screen as well. Only 5 out of 16, so the dynamics in the storyline can change up and just be completely flipped on its head at a moment's notice. It all depends on how these engagements are going to go down, but this time, no engagements across the entire board. No one even within a spitball's distance to each other.
So that is going to leave all 20 squads alive, and more than likely with a good amount of area to be able to loot up here and get some respectable gunpowder before they potentially engage in a few moments. The circle going to be drifting towards the central eastern side of the map, leaving teams like FH flying high, as well as Loyalty down there by Lava City. A couple others as well, EVL, for example, and Singularity, too, controlling Fragment East, already in good positions. Basically just need to hold on to what they have right now and wait things out for the next 10 minutes or so until the circle really starts to pressure them when we get down to the 3rd or 4th wave.
I honestly think that the craziest thing right now is got to be where this second circle is going to be coming in. This is yet again another repeat of the
Yeah.
previous circle that we had. So a lot of these teams are going to understand the rotations that happened the last time. We could see some game-changing things go on. Remember, we saw Fenrir with quite the awkward engagement going on there for quite some time as well. I believe it was Fenrir 2, actually, but nevertheless, there was a lot of awkward things going on inside of that last one for quite a few of these groups where they ended up hitting these pinch points at not the best time and ended up getting them killed. So I want to see if anyone tries to rotate to different areas and find some different engagements with some other squads.
That circle has some potentially dangerous elements to it as well when you consider that the green circle that we had on the map right there is right in the middle of one of the divider cliffs on the map, so that could end up splitting itself off in a very awkward way for a team that ends up on the wrong side of those cliffs should the worst happen to them. We're going to have some teams start to bleed into the train yards here. That means that a slight skirmish is going to go on. Jupertinsky as well as Kryn leading the charge for their squad here as they try to force some of the members inside of the actual train tunnel further back and out of this zone.
Yeah, it's going to be Dynamics taking a little bit of damage here, but not enough to call home about. Instead, they'll slap some batteries on themselves and continue on about their day. Not too much else going on. So, do you have a possible engagement going on up near Lava Fisher, though? Could see AIE and TBS start to battle it out. As with that, though, we also have some things going on near Geyser, and this definitely looks to be the bigger engagement as OnlyFans or casual gamers flying into the building, but King's taking quite a bit of damage along the way. Him and the rest of the squad trying to battle back against Maestro Jeff, as well as Rico locked inside of one of these buildings.
Flying High actually saving another team right there too, whether they realize it or not, as Loyalty was ready to jump on, as Stokes was mentioning there. Rico and his other teammates still hiding out on the inside of this building. Flying High still has pressure onto Loyalty from the outside too, so Loyalty going to be very much obsessed with the Flying High roster, not so much with this team on the inside, as they seem to be stragglers trying to survive more than anything at this point. They've got caustic pressure on the doors, so not going to be able to immediately swing to the inside. It's more than likely true for the other half too, but now in comes the drone EMP. That's going to hit pretty much everybody in this area here. Invictus, specifically from the Loyalty roster, going down pretty heavily, but we'll switch our fight back over to Dynamics as they're still vying for control of this train tunnel right now and are going to be able to take down at least one player. The problem is they've lost one player as well. Aimbot Machine has been eliminated. They do have the card though and are heading right back over to the beacon right now, so should be able to bring him back without too much of an issue.
More than likely be one of the initial reses that we'll be able to see, but now, oh no, a poor finish for casual gamers. It's finally happened to them, but no, the re-engage as well. Flying High in trouble. They didn't know that Nocturne was here, and now they're all over them. They clean up all of the frags, and they're walking away with a handful of KPs off that.
Unfortunate to engage into that. Flying High seemed like they had great control over Loyalty, especially after getting the jump on them when they were trying to transition to that building where we just saw the fight go down. So now we're going to get traded right back at it, but at the same time, we have another squad. I believe
Tempest.
this is...
That's actually Tempest. Nocturne left the area. Tempest came back through the building. I don't even know where Nocturne went.
No, they're gone from what I can tell. Got the heck out of here. And we've got 2 to 3 different squads now trying to fight for control of Geyser and all of the boxes that would come with it. Paradox swinging in here as well from the far side of the area. Wolf still trying to keep himself alive here for Flying Highs. He's now one of the only ones still standing in the area for his team and has to keep the squad's hope alive here for later on in the match.
Well, things coming to a standstill now is no one being pressured all too much. So more than likely won't see too much forward progress unless somebody gets a little too antsy. It could be Team Brave Soldiers, but doesn't seem like they have too much insight on the situation just now. They have a pretty good read here as they'll hop onto it, but now trying to transition across the cable here. They're staying on the line, and they're continuing to contest the entire area. Oh no, this man trying to run to the hills, but now some more shots raining in from the rails. Nice shots with this Volt from Loki here, but he's actually going to be able to get away. Shield hasn't broken just yet, so going to stay on top of his life as Brave Soldiers have found some space, but they found even more targets as it seems to continue to go down at the rail yard. or the
So
train
many
yard,
teams,
excuse me.
so many teams trying to capitalize on the chaos here. We've got multiple fights happening on multiple different parts of the map. We've got this train yard skirmish. We've got the geyser skirmish still going on pretty much halfway across the map right now as well. So a lot going down. That means we're going to have a lot of teams potentially being bled players or just squads outright getting eliminated here. And this is all before the first circle, I believe, even comes to a close here. As you can see, casual gamers, the winners of game 2 are out. Loyalty getting overflowed. They're going to get taken out. Flow Nocturnes currently in 3rd place overall in our standings. They've been knocked out as well. So some big names already off the board here before we really even see the first circle fully close.
And this is going to be a huge issue for them later on. Hopefully they can bounce back, but back with this engagement now in train yard, it's actually Cerberus, who we haven't been able to catch too much action from, finally getting into the mix of things. Quite a bit of damage. They're starting to get flooded. Enaball staying up, but he's finally been down. The R99 not assisting all too much. It's left up to Brizu now as he's running around the box, but oh man, Team Brave Soldiers just too strong when it comes down to it. They'll be able to get Lukey back up, and they'll go back down, or excuse me, they'll go back to actually picking up some mats here. Just clean up those death boxes and move along their way. Great stuff from them to be able to play that situation out correctly.
Good re-engagement from TBS too. They already had the fight earlier for control of this tunnel and definitely maintained it, as they're now able to punish anyone that tries to warp their way in. As we just saw, their Cerberus getting wiped out pretty quickly. You still have this fight going on at Geyser in the meanwhile here. Everybody's stacked up in the middle of it. It seems like quite a few of the teams have managed to evacuate out of here, but Team Without Name as well as Paradox are in a bit of a standoff now for control of this zone.
Why would they want another fortress inside of a box canyon? I don't really know. I mean, if we just gave up ours, then they just have 2 areas inside of a box canyon.
Everybody wants this this U-shaped building here. I guess it's more of a, I don't even really know if we'd count that, it's more of a W shape, but
I mean, they're just trying to catch the dub, man. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Without name.
That's the W. That's the W compound right there.
There you go. There you go. But the W is actually the newest thing that they found for the periodic table. So make sure to look on that for your next elements test.
There's definitely like an actual name for that, and we're just butchering it right now. Everybody's just cringing in chat. But either way,
pain and suffering.
Without Name looks like they are starting to back away from this position. It's like I said, it's a really strong spot. There's really no ways to flank against them. So I'd actually be very surprised if they chose to give that up and rotate out of there, because the circle also seems to be playing into Geyser pretty heavily, which is more than likely part of the reason why we've got so many teams trying to fight for it so early. It just seems to be the pivotal point. It seems to be more likely where this game will end up ending, or at least for the second and third circle more than likely gravitate towards. So a lot of teams trying to take a gamble on that.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting to see Without Name play towards this W-shaped building, we'll call it for right now, simply because of that circle. They want to see where this is going to end up once it gets down here. They could definitely assist them if they're able to hold on to that for any extended period of time. But hopping back on with Elysium and the boys, they haven't found too many engagements just yet. Do have some friends quite a bit of ways down this tunnel. It's actually only Madmen know, which I'm not exactly, so I don't exactly know what he's doing. Well, now know what he's doing. He's getting an engagement here with Brands, but Brands has a lot of backup, and that's going to be a big problem for Madmen here. He doesn't understand that it's not a one-on-one. It's actually me and all of my friends that are about to come and try and kill you. So good luck with this.
The pressure from Madmen is pretty good, though, to be fair. He's gotten a couple beam shots off here from the R301, so able to melt down these players. Going to try to do it once again to force them back, but nah, finally on the losing end of one of those engagements. That's dangerous. Oh, good response there, as he is going to be able to finally complete the deal down Brands. His teammates are immediately going to follow that up, and because he's alone, Madman can't immediately just jump into this fight with only 25 to 50% of his shield count here. Has to hold it back, has to play to the current advantage, which he has, which is going to be that high ground angle.
Well, the good news for him is that they're not exactly aware of him having 2 dead teammates. So him just being here and simply firing back could possibly scare them off. You can see the opposing squad attempting to poise outside of the tunnels and actually just vacating the area. They don't even want to actually take this engagement. So Madman making himself big enough where he actually scares them off. Some very nice stuff from him, and will more than likely keep him alive, at least for the time being. Obviously, he'll have to rotate out sooner or later, but we'll hop back with him later on. Alpha Intelligence now with some problems of their own. Zro now with a lot of trouble. He's actually been downed. Assumed he was going to be able to make it out and get that reshield, but not the case.
Our teams are starting to get a lot more aggressive a lot earlier here after managing to get the first couple games out of the way. We're seeing a lot of squads lose one or two of their players before we even really get into the close quarters part of this map here where the circle starts to close in. It does look like we are going to be moving slightly out from Geyser in the meanwhile, but we're going to zoop over here towards this fight. Elite VR trying to play in the connector, working their way into Geyser, but they've got another squad, Brave Soldiers, coming in. Remember, they were fighting a train yard earlier. The EMP working its way out, but it is going to hit Brave Soldiers pretty heavily, costing them 50 shields each here. Lukey trying to play around it. There comes the defensive bombardment. That's going to force Lukey back, but not before getting hit by one of them. The rest of the team seemingly making it out unscathed there. They'll try to heal themselves back up. Lukey's going to have to go for a Phoenix kit, but no, the pressure is still staying on, and that's going to lead to Lukey getting down here. Zillach from Fenrir also having a secondary angle onto this team does not leave Brave Soldiers in a good position to play this out at all, unfortunately. But Zillach taking a lot of heat. He's going to lose his shields, get forced behind coverage. Maybe they'll be able to fight back just as of yet.
Well, Truman Jar trying to pick up the pieces here for Fenrir. Arc Stars in as well as Thermals, and Zoltam, the caustic of all people, with the aggressive play. R99 in hand, great scan. He's inside the shield, trying to do as much damage as he possibly can, but he's finally been downed. He needs some help, Zillage. Hop inside, assist your teammates. He can't get away either. He tries to throw up the Naruto hand signals, but it doesn't work out for him. He's been downed. Now Truman Jar tries to reposition. He knows both of his friends are done, so he's going to actually hightail it right out of this area, as oh no, some previous winners on top of the valley actually not going to go for the engage here either. It's Dynamics as they're trying to find some safe harbor of their own.
Dynamics taking up that same position that TBS ended up going down from here. So many squads trying to get in on the current action going on just outside of the Geyser, and now we're going to see the members of the squad for Dynamics try to work their way back in. They're Gibby down, of course. They're going to put the crypto on a drone very quickly to see if the push is still working its way in, and they'll find out very quickly that it indeed is. Using the EMP as almost a point guard here to try and keep them back for a couple of seconds. It works out, allows their Gibby to get back up. Not fully shielded yet, but that's going to change. The problem is they can't go forward. There are two to three other teams, excuse me, still sitting on the inside of Geyser. There is still a mad scramble for control of here. We've got ults going off, another defensive bombardment from one of the Gibbies going down as well. Nowhere really to run for the players already outside of Geyser, and for the players just arriving, there's no safe harbor. You're going to have to fight for building control or just be happy to stay on top of one of these.
Oh, Geyser is about to be a party, and we're apparently invited, folks. The circle works its way in. All hell is about to break loose, and it starts off on the close side as Phoenix is already inside of an engagement. Worse with the R99 starting to deal some damage, but these bombardments from the Gibraltar art, it's starting to do quite a bit of damage as well. Still calm before the storm, as a lot of intel flying back and forth between these squads, getting a good read on the situation, but finally Phoenix pushed their advantage onto the previous squad. The last remaining member stuck behind this container. They'll be able to clean him up for yet another KP. As soon as Swag actually is able to take the kill lead as well, but oh no, actually gonna have it down in the progress of that. No true damage dealt to them just yet. They'll be able to get him back up. Death Totem spawn for Phoenix, and they're on the aggressive play.
Keep in mind, this is Phoenix up on top of the leaderboard right now. They have the kill leader inside of this game currently, so they're more than likely going to be able to keep up contention on the leaderboard with their KPs. But in terms of placements, it's looking rough for them, losing another one of their players here. Suag going to have to try and bring them back up from the grave again while Coliseum defends things. Even Suag isn't convinced he can get this res off just as of yet here, still being scanned by opponents from the other side. Here comes an attempt at a push there. Coliseum is going to get downed as well, just leaving the Gibby up in the fight, and Paradox is continuing into rain and hellfire from distance as well. No real easy way here for Phoenix to try and stay in this fight, so we'll shift away from them. Take a look at what Paradox is up to. Nella's continuing to rain out shots left and right, getting his teammate back after falling back from the duel that just happened previously back there against Phoenix, I believe fully wiping them out, all except for the Gibby. And to be honest, at this point, the Gibby may have gone down as well, but there's another squad still hiding out on the inside of that building as well, so they're not in a safe position yet. In fact, they're still potentially pinched out here. Paradox has to be very careful about the next few moments, as Singularity could drop onto them on top of the two other teams moving in from the other side of the complex as well.
Well, speaking of those squads, without names, still inside of the W building we were talking about before, and trying to rain Hellfire down on Elysium and the rest of the squad. As for Paradox, as we talked about prior, they're in better straits now. They still have a really strong position, but starting to take more fire as people are now discovering this location. Lots of open doors and windows here, but oh no, here comes the problematic things for Fenrir as they're starting to be forced back, trying to run up to yet another building, but the crossfire too strong for the time being. Paradox now starting to come under fire as well as Nellis is taking quite a bit of damage. They'll pop the Gibraltar shield, but there's another one very close in proximity as well. This is getting more and more dire for both of these sides. These mastiffs and close range weapons more than likely going to be the tool of choice to win out these close engagements. Yet another crypto EMP goes off as more hellfire rain down on top of them. These artillery strikes trying to deal the damage necessary, but just not hitting the mark.
We've actually still got Phoenix in the play, by the way. We just saw Coliseum get fully downed right there by a member of Paradox, but they managed to survive that building's exchange after all. I thought they had gone down, but it wasn't the case. They're still in this fight, specifically their Gibeahs, and I believe one other member as well. But Paradox holding on right here, picking up a lot of damage and potentially a lot of KPs as well by maintaining control of this building and having free view on both of the primary fights that have been happening in this facility. The problem is, though, they're also getting shot a lot here. A lot of pop shots working their way in through the windows, connecting at range here. This is due to the fact that Without Name, as Stokes had said, has had control of the big building up on top of the cliffside for pretty much this entire game so far. You can see Phoenix trying to put pressure back in, and they're not the only ones. Another squad also trying to press Paradox outside of this building, and it may yet work, but Paradox, they're going to stick around because they've been holding on to this for a long time, and they do not want to give this control up.
Absolutely not, but it seems like things may be going from bad to worse very soon. Circle not working its way in just yet. As you can see, we still have quite a few of these squads simply waiting on their hands to see who will strike first. Usually in these engagements, it's the first to strike, the first to die. See if that will be the case here between these handful of squads, as we still have building control fully inside of Paradox's hands here, as well as a long distance engagement going on from Mange Gregum, as well as a very forward position by one of their members. But finally, the circle starting to pop in as things get even more constricted.
That mobile respawn beacon coming down, but no way for Crypt to be able to use that one. I believe just throwing it as cover more than anything else here. Trying to work his way out into the open, and Insomnia's last other player besides that also working with him. Without Name finally being pushed outside of the W building in the meantime, and Phoenix now trying to get aggressive, but they'll get wiped out. Paradox successfully defend their building here, bringing us down to a top 5 contention. Paradox, I don't believe they have any other challengers waiting for them at this building anymore, meaning it's under their control, and they are right next to the circle, so they have a lot to play off of here. As this continues to close in, they can thrive and just wait out this time. The other team's more than likely going to find themselves getting wiped out pretty heavily as they mad scramble for what's left of the zone.
All Without Name, so many issues right now. Panic is the name, and apparently death is the name of the game, because it is done and dusted for him as well. Singularity still in this one. 4 squads remaining. Also Insomnia with a possible engagement onto Paradox soon. We can see them working their way in, but actually no, it's still Novak and the rest of the team held up right outside of the building, just simply standing right on top of it at quite the safe angle here. It's definitely going to be a first team to get eyesight on any of them. The line of sight here is so very important. You can see how not only the trucks but the rocks are really working in a lot of these teams' favors. Insomnia trying to find a more forward position with this Gibraltar shield, but it's really not going to bode too well for them for the time being, as no one's truly trying to engage them, instead simply searing down the glass at other targets.
Singularity finally making it deep into this game here. They've had a lot of good openings in the early game, but have been unable to find consistent top placement, keeping them lower on the scoreboard than they'd certainly like to be. This is their big chance to finally make that impact and get themselves high up on the rating here. 4 squads left. They want to be number 1, but they've got to push out here. Paradox still holding on in the inside of the building. As we switch back over here, we've got our other squad that was holding by Paradox's building finally getting sent out into the open as well. They're going to have to jump into this fight here. Insomnia Insomnia being the ones forced into it as a result of that. They don't have the greatest match from what we could see a second ago too, but it looks like they've been able to recover here with a lot of their players getting back up to full HP and having to try and keep them in good positions. This bubble shield being so important to them right now. They're one of the few teams without solid cover to work with. They're trying to get over that with their bubble. That's a good knock coming in there from Ange. He's going to be able to take out at least one player, another one falling a second after that as well. Novak squad not going to be able to sustain for that much longer here. Singularity coming out to try and get aggressive here now too, trying to get the rebound onto INS in order to take them down. Insomnia looking to get knocked out here, and they might just get the job done. There you go. Paradox finishes off one of the final players. We're still actually, no, with 4 squads left, so that's another member from another squad, as all 4 of these squads still in contention. It's going to be a dog pile though for the win here, as everyone is throwing everything they've got at this closing circle here. Those kills going left and right. Paradox still holding on with 2 of their players alive and well. Artini and Nellis with full shields to work off of as well. Nellis has Beast to play off, but we're down to the final 2. They've got control of the center, and they're going to get control of this match as Paradox takes the 5th.
Oh, Paradox, yet another bombastic game for them, just fragging out in every sense of the term. We also had antisocial aimers there as well, which, Blue, we were expecting a lot out of them early on, but it seems they finally made their way back here. We saw Novak and them being held up by Paradox inside of that building, and I think they played that to the best of their ability, to be completely honest, given what Paradox was able to produce. I really didn't think that we'd see Paradox come out on top of this, given the circumstances, but those last, especially that last circle, really playing into their favor, giving the building positioning.
I mean, it's so impressive that Paradox were able to come out on top of this one. Yes, the circle played into their favor pretty heavily, but despite that fact, they had to defend this center building at Geyser against a solid, I think, like 3 to 4 squads being pressed in against them at any point during the top 10 run right there. And for the most part, they took all of them out of the game as well. So not only did they get the great placement points for that game, taking first yet again, but a lot of KPs in that final top 10 squads more than likely going into their favor as well. Going to be very dangerous for the standings, especially for teams, trying to bring up our other stats here, especially for some of our other teams in the mix, like Phoenix. That's the team I was trying to talk about there, who has been really wrecking it in the kills department and was even doing so. But once again, because Phoenix is unable to actually get winning placement, they're more than likely going to get bumped down because Paradox had just as impressive of a game there in the kill department.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that Paradox aren't exactly going for super early engagements. They'll fight a team if it's necessary, but they're so good when it comes down to these small circles. They know the exact moment that they actually need to engage, and they can start picking up a lot of frags. I mean, look at how they're playing this right here. So very close. They know the circle's going to continue to constrict, and they simply wait for the target to peak. Some fantastic stuff from them once again inside of this match, and I think we're going to see this throughout this entire weekend.
Yeah, Grego just trying to be a fly on the wall. There's Insomnia able to sneak in a 3rd place win. Those final 4 squads vying to try and get as much as they could, as it was indeed a very chaotic circle close, coming down to the very last circle in order to settle that one. That's in drastic contrast to what we had on the previous map too. A lot of teams jumping into just one big engagement before we were even close to fully closing off the circle. So a lot of variety coming out in these games, and a lot of excitement to be sure, breeding us some winners. But Paradox really starting to show up potentially as our leading team, potentially to come out of day 1 of 2 of this grand final here. But we're not done just as of yet. We still have 3 more games coming up before we close out the evening here. And we're back again, folks. Ready to jump in one more time. World's Edge here, as we've got 3 games remaining here at the GLL Masters Spring for South America. $5,000 up for grabs for our teams over the course between today and tomorrow. 8 games today, 8 games tomorrow. The top earner of points between all 16 of those games taking home the lion's share of the prize pool at $2,500 as well. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the broadcast is Stokes. Let's get the points on the board from game number 5 and see where exactly our teams ended up.
Well, let's start talking about things, folks. Remember, this is just from match 5. We'll have the fully updated scoreboard after this, but this is how things ended up breaking down. And yeah, that's exactly what we were going to talk about. Paradox Esports, 13 kills inside of this last match, and that's apart from match 4. Saw them with 12, so actually outdoing themselves in the frag department.
definitely the case there. Great stuff from Paradox, chaining two very powerful games together. Let's see where that's going to leave them overall on the standings here, as we had a couple other of our high-placing teams drop
Woo!
down slightly. Flow Nocturnes, for example, the first to go out that time. That's only going to bump them down by one position down to fourth place. Paradox now, however, well in control of this matchup at 78 points. The next highest team, this is what I was talking about before, was Phoenix team, keeping up. They're only one kill behind Paradox right now, but doubling their overall score and placements, making the big difference on the scoreboard right now. That's the main thing Phoenix has to fix up here. They're always making it to the late game. They're always finding impact in the kill department, but just never seem to be good on the positioning aspect of things and finding themselves taken down before they can really get to that top 3 or even top 1 finish.
Yeah, the circles have been haunting Phoenix, and we're hoping to see some improvement for them in these further matches. But as of right now, as you're talking about, Paradox really gaining a lead on a lot of these teams, and actually to third right now, Blue, there's a 33-point difference. That's a massive margin to try and gather back for Fenrir and any of these other teams that are even farther back inside of the series.
Would not be surprised to see Paradox here get a lot more pressure onto them. The other team's going to have to start to realize that Paradox is starting to look very, very dangerous on that scoreboard and might become a very high-priced target if you can take them out early on in the game here to start to bump them down, especially if you're in contention along the top 2 to 3 and you're a team that fights around the same landing zone as them. We'll take a look at that, of course, when we get into the actual game, see who could potentially isolate out Paradox. This is part of Paradox's strategy, too. From what memory serves me, they tend to land in a pretty isolated part of the map, so there's usually not a lot of direct contention coming out against them, and as a result of that, they, as Stokes said, can have a pretty passive early game, grab a powerful position to rotate from in the mid game, and then try to close out from there, as they've done in the past 2 matches.
It's a really strong team strategy, especially given the circumstances. I mean, looking across the board at this team, they're very consistent inside of their team fights, and that's a big thing, especially with the amount of angles that they're able to adopt in those larger, the more grand scale fights. I think it's really, really strong overall, especially inside of those last couple of rings that we had in Geyser inside of match 5. We saw them using Gibby extremely well inside of quite a few of those buildings and being able to elongate these fights to preposterous lengths where their other opponents weren't able to actually have the same amount of longevity. It was just really, really cool to see that kind of strategy coming in here.
Another important factor that's continuing to play out, we saw it happen in match 4. Match 5 had a lot of it as well. So many teams losing players in the early game because of the fact that we're seeing fights for powerful positions on the map, specifically at Geyser early on, where we had, I think, 2 different squads lose at least 1 player as a result of trying to commit to that fight. So a couple of straggler squads getting forced into some awkward situations as a result of that. We'll have to see if our teams are able to clean that up, or if that's going to be a recurring theme of the remaining 10 matches we have left. Either way, it is time to drop into it, folks. So let's take a look and see here what exactly we're going to be getting up to, specifically for Paradox. I want to pay attention to where they're dropping off at, and more importantly, if they're going to get any competition.
Well, they are going to be dropping right next to Geyser once again, excuse me. Booting up early on here, so we'll be looking at the map momentarily, but doesn't seem like we'll have early engagements for them as of right now. And as you can see, there's quite a few people, but obviously a hell of a long distance away. Nobody within even earshot at this moment.
We'll have that big jumble of players over here at the top left side of the map here. Elite VR still stacking up with Fenrir, AIE, as well as a couple other teams in the mix here also. So very dangerous part of the map. Actually, surprised we haven't seen at least 1 or 2 early battles transpiring around the Skyhook area, or even countdown as a result of that, save for when we have the circle. But here's the thing, the circle is moving itself back into that part of the map once again, so that is going to reignite the potential for some of these teams to set themselves up very appropriately early on, because the circle is going to play into their court here. So as long as they get the weapons they need, no real reason to go for a long run or rotate unless they want to try to get aggressive and scavenge some KPs early on.
Yeah, and honestly, you have to feel pretty bad for the teams that are landing on the lower end of the map. Just haven't had a favorable circle this entire series today so far, but still finding some really good finishes. So obviously, it's not all doom and gloom, but that seems to be the positions for all of our players as of right now. Once again, no early engagements for anybody. Still have everyone landing in relatively the same spot as well. So just strong so far. There's really not much else going on. We are still going to have trials being ran up top and everything else in between.
Definitely going to be the case here. as the time continues to tick down on that first wave, and overall teams just continue to build up a good collection of an arsenal to work with here. You've got at least one squad drifting very, very close to AIE, but AIE has been asserting their own dominance on the inside of Trials there for all of the matches that we've played so far. So that light, that almost skin colored team there, I don't know, peach, I guess is probably a much better word to say. Ignore me, man. It's we're 6 games in at this point, but either way, it is. Yeah, I couldn't think of peach for some reason. That peach-colored team is going to avoid AIE as they know this is their landing spot over at Trials, and they probably don't want to mess with that this early on.
Yes, I'll take the skin
Listen, at least
flavored.
I
I
didn't, at
mean,
least I didn't say
peach
like,
flavored soda.
at least I didn't say like flesh-colored or anything weird
Oh
like
man,
that.
dude, I would think you're a serial killer if you said that. I've been like, John, we can't work together anymore. I'm sorry.
Either way, moving past that, we'll see that team just swoop around. We are going to get a little bit of an engagement, it looks like, over here towards Lava Fisher, though. Loyalty specifically already having a player down, and another one without shields. That's going to be JC getting down entirely. We'll try to finish off another player here, as well as they try to hunt down the third and prevent the resurrection of the second.
Loyalty doing a pretty bang up job right now, just simply popping heads and getting these death boxes, and it's going to be a solid start for them, but they haven't finished off the squad just yet. Have a single member trailing around here somewhere, but it doesn't seem like they have too much insight on his current location, and they're not too worried about it, especially with those early frags. And oh, Panic, you poor man, he's actually hiding all the way over on this ledge. It's like this is just like, this is so bad. This is like the ending to the Lord of the Rings. He's just like waiting on the bridge and just like, should I just throw myself in? I don't really know.
Done. Oh wait, where'd he go? Oh, he's over there.
I thought he did it for just a second.
I thought he just pulled a magic trick on us. See, that was gonna be cool.
Oh man. Well, I think he's simply just gonna wait here, right, and just go back in and get the tags whenever he can.
So Panic will chill out here. Here we go. Here's the run back. Oh, maybe not. Oh. He's having trouble working up the courage for it. You know, it's a tough run. He's got to be a big boy. Work his way out there.
Bloodhound just giving himself a pep talk here. He's just like, I bathe in the blood, but that was just too much.
It's actually going to be the circle that forces him in, as he'll try to run and grab these banners with about 20 seconds left on each one. Octane, actually don't think he's going to be able to get. We'll see if he can make it over there in time, but I think he's going to run out like just before he makes it there. Oh, it's close.
Oh no,
he messed up. He messed up the slide, and that seals the deal, unfortunately. So Zera not coming back. However, JC still very much in the cards here if he can make his way over towards a respawn beacon.
No way this man's about. Oh wait, is he gonna make a mobile respawn station? Is that what he's about to do?
Let's see if it's available.
I don't know if it's inside of the machines for this week. I actually didn't check what they were. Okay, we'll have to see what he gets out of this.
He's got an
now
actual beacon right here, though, is the thing. So it would be.
Oh well, I mean, okay. Well, is he going to get him meds or something? I'm curious as to what he's done.
I'm guessing he's spawning meds more than likely, but either way.
What a teammate.
What a good guy, you know?
Yeah, what a nice guy.
Waiting a couple seconds there just to make sure that I think no one else was straggling around here, and now he's going to start to give his teammates more than likely spawn out those med kits in order to allow him to still be in good contention when he gets down on the ground and not immediately start dying here. So all those guys pick that up in a second and start to make their run back into the actual circle territory now that they'll be able to get themselves up to at least 2 players still standing. Obviously, nobody going to contest the res. It's deep in circle territory at this point, so it's not going to be too advantageous to try and run back there for just 1 to 2 more kills.
Well, at least they're able to get him back up. That's the good news. The great news across the board for everyone at home, though, is that we're more than likely about to see a whole hell of a lot of action going on around Trials. I mean, just look at the amount of people here. I mean, I think that's 20 plus people all inside that small area, especially in Skyhook as well. We have 3 different teams that currently have buildings. Of course, if you want to count our squad currently outside of that green ring as well.
All right, so relocation is going to be the name of the game for the players still inside of the circle. And meanwhile, sitting over here on the top of Trials, we do have AIE getting into a slight engagement with Team Brave Soldier. Soda and Lukey trying to push their way in through the main doorway. Soda having to go for a quick heal in the midst of the action, though, and Asleep holding the flank angle back behind these doors here, since Elite BR is also pressuring them from the other side. Not going to be an easy day in the park at all for the players holding that hallway. And we've got even more fights happening besides that as well. Singularity trying to jump on to an opponent here, but not able to actually locate this enemy at this point in time, so gonna have to keep chasing them as they seem to be another couple 100 meters out here.
Neither team wanting to engage without a definite advantage, and it seems like it may have been found. Brand's taking quite a few shots here. Shield almost broken, but flying high in similar straits. Lots of damage dealt to them as Trab's trying to heal up with as many syringes as he can possibly muster, but it's Wolf on the aggressive play now. Sees somebody on the building across from him, but they don't have the greatest advantage for the time being. The circle pushing them forward. They're going to be in a lot of trouble, but the Gibby shield actually saves them. They work into the bottom of the building, and they'll stay alive for now, finding some space to shield back up.
Great movement there from FH to get it in such clean fashion. Their opponent's not really able to contest the control they take in that building so quickly. In the meanwhile, Singularity still chasing down the team that they were working against previously and now taking the battle all the way into Skyhook here. They're going to be able to crack at least one of these guys. Problem is they work their way back up. We see a lot of return fire come in, specifically from grenades here. Arcstar is taking care of the doors as well as the shields for Elysium, forcing him to use a battery. They still have a down player sitting behind that Gibby drop, though, and they're waiting for that to go away as they don't want to push all the way across because this player is also sitting here, potentially causing problems. Other Arcstar going in the midst, they're slowing them down. Elysium going back for a quick shield swap to the outside here, has the flank on the opponent that just took down DMM, but now the problem is being flanked out as well. Brand trying to survive on the inside, but he too is going to go down, possibly leading to his elimination here if Elysium can't save the day. Elysium gets the trade down to their player, but the third in the area, but that's a great shot coming out right there on the Folks, takes him down, finishes off Monkey in the process here. And now Brand's unfortunately going to go down as well as more players on the way. Just has to abandon his teammate, run away from here, try to survive, or at least get to a position where he can recover and be ready for the next fight.
This is just very unfortunate for Singularity right now. They were starting to make a run back at the top of this scoreboard, and there's still 18 people, or 18 squads, excuse me, remaining across the entire field. But we're gonna have another one dealt with accordingly very quickly as well, as we just hopped on board with them, as it's actually Phoenix to take them down. The strongest positioning here as Skyhook continues to be theirs.
Skyhook under the control of Phoenix, continuing that aggressive play style from the previous matches. Remember, Phoenix are in contention to lead on kills right now overall in the game, sitting right next to Paradox by only one frag. And that's the main reason why Phoenix have been able to keep themselves so far up in the ratings, is the consistent kill placements that we've been getting out of them almost every single game we've played so far. Placements as well have been generally improving from where they started, but they're still having trouble finding a top 3 or top 2 finish that'll really push them over the edge of those extra 9 to 12 points into first place, where they absolutely would want to be.
Well, we have a couple of problems right now for a handful of these squads. Looking at the team tracker, Maycam, Singularity, and Without Name all down to their last leg here. Last remaining members trying to stay alive, get some more points in the grand scheme of things. This is the grand finals once again, folks. So all these points matter so much. Maycam, as you were saying, now done for the birds, all over. Just gonna have to wait for the vultures to come by and pick up those. So slowly but surely getting down to these last 10 squads.
Flow Nocturnes trying to work their way out of an awkward position here as they're in the open, looking to transition over to cover closer to Trials, as the Teraday will lead the charge on that. His two teammates actually not really with him at this point, as they're sitting a little bit further behind, but thankfully just a couple steps behind from the looks of things. So should be able to catch up with him without too much of a major issue. Still trying to get some shots off onto the players hiding out by Skyhook, I believe, which is why they're continuing to hold this exposed position. Countdown, excuse me, is where they're firing shots off from. Kind of have an angle on both, but either way.
Enemy spotted over there.
And that's going to actually provide them quite a bit of cover as well, as you were saying. Not only that area, but also the entirety of the area around them. They're set up for angle-wise. This high ground area working into their favor. Again, do still have some stragglers around the map that you can see, like JC Tower over the right-hand side, that could possibly be running into some problems. Could have a flank here, but he seemingly wants to try and play the circle as close as possible. He doesn't want to move forward unless he must. As for the rest of the field right now, not too much going on, just simply finding buildings and starting to find cover, set up for further engagements. But finally, we actually do have some action going on right now. It's down near Lava Fissure, where we start to see a handful of these squads, including our leaders, Paradox, inside of a battle.
Paradox once again going to be looking for their third consecutive win if they're able to leverage that. Obviously, a lot more movement involved in this game for them, and we can see another team as well, Cafazin, one of our other leading squads here, trying to work their way in, trying to put the pressure onto Paradox, maybe find an early knockout against them. But DK taking a lot of heat. That's Casual Gamers once again, for those who haven't been keeping up with the game up until this point here, trying to make that impact. They've got the Death Protection Totem down on the ground, and at least for one of their players, Z-Brand, he's going to use it here, diving right in. He's got the scan, so much speed coming up from this one. Arc Stars penetrating forward as well here. He's going to try to finish off a couple of these players, but he will lose Death Protection, sending him back to where he started. Still, all that damage going onto his opponents. They do have the capability to re-engage if they want to, but with the distance between them, the problem is their opponents would have healed back up. They're going to go back to full HP here as well before trying to do anything else.
Yeah, risky plays, yes, but only when supported enough to be able to be safe. Casual Gamers playing so well right now. Very aggressive play as we were talking about before, but well done nevertheless. Update on our other situations for some of our single targets rolling around the map all alone, just doing their best to play hide and go seek and not get shot. Elysium currently hiding, trying to make sure that he is not discovered by any of these squads. Now, things get kind of scary when you are a singular person inside of Apex.
He's not the only one.
And yeah, exactly. And the reason it gets so scary is because of the amount of reconnaissance some of these legends have. I mean, Bloodhound can find you through buildings. No matter what you hide behind, you can hide behind a complete titanium wall and he can still find you. So this is a very drastic situation for these individuals.
It's important to note as well that Bloodhound's still a very popular pick in this region, so that means you could just walk through a field and randomly get scanned if you're walking into the wrong positions, because there's such a prevalence of Bloodhound picks right now. So really hard to avoid that, especially as this circle is going to begin closing in and we get to the final seconds, centered mainly around trials. Yet again, our third game so far today that we've had overall ending in this general quadrant of the map.
Ninja Legend when, EA? That's what I'm saying. When we find the guy that, you know, doesn't like make foot noise or something like that, doesn't walk, you know what I'm getting at. That'd be some crazy stuff to be able to hide from like Crypto's drone or something like that, but you never know. I'm sure they've got a lot of ideas of their own, but as soon as we're getting off board with that, Tempest and then engagement of their own, Nefari has actually been down as Tempest taking way too much damage to be able to sustain. Madman finally working his way out, but he's going to get tagged up along the way. He actually gets into an engagement up top inside of the control room, but it's without name that strikes back, trying to get all of these KPs that they can possibly get. Finally dipping out of the ring is JC. He's going to find a couple of frags, and this is one of our singular people that have been rolling around the map for quite some time, and he's finally finding some engagements of his own.
Into the top 13. Aggressive, of course, considering that there's still over half the squads remaining, but at least guaranteeing that 1 KP for his team. Might have the opportunity for more here as well, as there's a lot of squads about to be engaged or in the process of being taken out here, and he may be able to sneak in, finish off an extra player or two to continue racking up those KPs and pushing them further. But oh no, JC spotted out by Tripio. And with that, Insomnia are going to get the very quick wipe onto JC and the rest of his squad, since he was the last player standing. Now, Insomnia also down a player here too. It's just Grego and Tripio trying to play this off in a 2v3 for the rest of this game here. So they have the beacon, they have the banner itself to try and deliver to the beacon, and well, there's a beacon right in front of them, but they've got more pressing issues, players jumping directly on top of them here. Tripio actually able to deal with those without too much of an issue, but that's just Death Protection sending those players back. They're going to be leaping in a moment yet again.
Elysium now with some problems of his own as well. He tries to go sky high, floating through. Oh, the track is so well. All the damage done to Elysium, but he's still sliding by. Literally 1 HP, and he's going to make it away. Gets the shield bat out, and he'll be able to stay alive for a little while longer. If you can hold on till top 10, that will be huge for this team. Fake Love Black as well, still in this. This is a team that we haven't been able to see enough from today. One that I expected to do quite well, given the recent results, but haven't been able to find their mark just yet. Seems like an imprint finally may be made as they're walking in to find some frags of their own. already done and dusted, though. They've cleaned up this battle, as we'll be looking across for some others.
Insomnia just got wiped out. That
Uh-oh.
means Elysium has made it for his squad into the top 10, upgrading the points gained on placements by another category here. He's getting away, stealing this match, continuing to take points that otherwise wouldn't have been possible here without his creative and, more importantly, great dodging of fights that's been going on there. That nice hop up from him earlier to avoid getting outright wiped left him with a single health point, and he's been able to recover, keep himself in good straits as the squads continue to tick down now into top 9.
Yeah, as you were saying, fantastic movement right there. Just so slippery with Horizon's kit, just being such a hard target for a lot of these people to hit, especially in a game where we see so many mechanically gifted players.
Loyalty here. Good opportunity to try and hunt down Paradox as they push their way forward up on the train tracks right now. Paradox forced out into the open, but Loyalty getting a third party here by another party. You can see Invictus trying to heavily focus on Paradox, be able to knock them out, but not able to get the job done. It's Fake Love Black doing it instead here as Artini is going to fall. Unsure if the others were knocked out just as of yet here. Nades going in to try to seal the deal. It's going to fall, I think, just slightly short, but still Paradox players going down left and right, and I think they'll be fully wiped out here as we go down to 6.
Oh,
Maybe
problematic.
one's still standing behind that pillar right there, though. So
they're trying to charge rifle right through it. I don't know if it's got any pen on it, but I'm assuming not, since that is literally a metal beam right into the leg. But oh no,
come on.
The hitbox not favoring him, gets him right in the head. So much damage, and finally they're able to deal with Nellis. That's going to be, I believe, all of Paradox gone. Our previous winners, but they're able to make top 10 once again, and that might be an issue for a handful of these people as they'll continue to attempt to build a lead. But now Fake Love Black in a nice position here to try and crack that top 10 on our overall scoreboard.
Fake Love looking to run it back from the back end of the scoreboard potentially here, not really showing up until this match, despite being the winners of the last ALGS Cup inside of this region, where they were pulled off a similar chain of events there, kind of the reverse sweep in the final 2 games, 2 wins in a row, and net them so many points in order to win that cup that happened just a while ago. Now here in the inside of our next tournament, though, proving to be a little bit more difficult here. Other teams stepping up to the plate. Not until this game do we see them finally start to make an impact on the Fake Love side of things. At the same time, Loyalty pushing themselves very far into this game and now pushing themselves into their opponent's position here. They're going to go. Flow Nocturne very well aware of this, but not necessarily choosing to jump onto that because they're also getting fired back from another squad here. Forced into a corner, trying to play off of that. We've got a lot of players within very close contention to each other, and as a result, everyone is trying to play this so cautiously. There's the swing from Rico as he tries to get himself into the open. Gonna end up getting knocked out, though, and he's not the only one. Teraday getting so low. They've already lost their other teammate, Maestro, as well. He's completely out of the mix right now, and Teraday, the only one still standing, gonna have to try and get off some heals here as he finally works himself behind workable cover.
Well, Trials now seeming more like survival of the fittest as Loyalty taking it to their opponents inside of the Gibraltar Shield. Fantastic stuff for them. Able to res their friend as well as we hop back on board with Fake Love Black. Natsu still up. Lusquin low on shields for the time being, but this engagement going pretty well for them so far. They've actually been able to find some safe harbor and get back on top of these shields as well as med back up, but they could have a possible engagement here. Looks like they're ready for it, though, as the sonar detection continues to go out. We still have casual gamers in this as well, or actually, excuse me, antisocial aimers. If I do say so myself, or actually, no, I'm getting this wrong all across the board. It's actually Loyalty. Apologies, guys. That's my big brain fart for the day. But nevertheless, no action just yet. But it is nice to see Loyalty back in here. We've been seeing them be consistent throughout all of the day, but finally cracking that final 3 once again.
Couple other teams still present in the inside of that doorway right there, waiting for the circle to close in on them, since they hold the definite advantaged angle until the circle starts to close by, well, more importantly than anything, having the door to actually play off of and be able to close that off from their opponents. Either way, Loyalty gonna try and crush them as soon as they're gonna be forced to the outside here. Also going to see a drop coming in, but that'll be Relatively little consequence at this point, just acting as extra cover for these players to work their way off of getting down to the final fight. You can see Loyalty actually swinging wide. That's going to let the players on the inside of Trials out relatively for free. And it's Phoenix once again here in the top 3, looking to make an impact. This is the team that we talked about that's been struggling to be able to work their way into this high placement because they're trying to establish themselves and trying to get so aggressive. In the early game, they ended up knocked out before that top 5. But this time, they've made it into the top 3. Gonna see if they can get a quick res off here onto Coliseum to bring him back into the fight, just playing on the very edge of that circle, and they've got it. You still have the other 2 squads fighting on the outside as well. The chaos has been unfolding while they got that 3rd player back up in the fight. Here's going to be probably their biggest challenge. Fake Love Black fully stacked, full level 5 shields to work off of defensive bombardment in. Lusquin does have the gibby, so he should be able to chuck out a shield here, but there's been no point just as of yet. They actually have a position to play from here in this little tiny cubby that's actually worked out for them to dodge that ultimate entirely.
Worked out extremely well for them, especially given that they did not actually have Gibby's shield up just yet. But it's going to be the pinch. Everyone up on this plateau now. Phoenix rushing the shield as well. Shotgun in hand, but they're dancing back and forth. Dancing with that. The rotation from the other squad as well. As everyone's all over Phoenix. They thought they had the power position, but now it's actually turned on its head. Fake Love Black still with a strong engagement, but finally Azil has been down, and they're in a lot of trouble. Lusquin's trying to keep them back off of the rest of their teammates, but oh no, the circle's starting to do so much damage. It's closing them in so tight-knit, but finally, it's actually Phoenix that comes out on top. The pinch doesn't work for either side, and they're able to stem the tide, winning match 6 here. Some fantastic stuff from Phoenix, and they finally cracked that problem that we've been talking about through all of today. John, Phoenix claim match 6.
Finally, Phoenix getting that W they've been looking for here for so many games in a row. Might be what they finally needed to push them over the edge, especially when you consider Paradox found themselves getting knocked out in a much lower placement this time, right around 6th place, if memory serves me correctly. But Lusquin, man, from Fake Love, nearly pulling out the clutch. There's so much damage coming out from his Mastiff, and that extra damage absorption on the Gibby, nearly paying off for him to try and survive that crazy, it was like a 1v8 fight right there set before him as he's trying to play out of that one. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run, just pure frags. And unfortunately failing on that final player, it goes over to Phoenix instead, as they're finally going to take an outright win here today.
It's absurd that they were able to even win that situation, given how Loyalty played that as well. They tried to engage onto Fake Love Black, but then Loyalty actually rounds the bottom area and engages onto them instead. So they have to actually back up into their own Gibraltar shield and start playing the close engagements on whoever tries to approach. And that seemingly worked. I mean, that was the thing that blew me away the most. I mean, look at how chaotic it is right now, trying to just dance around this circle for all of these squads. I do believe that's a singular member remaining for every single one of those teams alive. That is so very impressive. What a game to watch.
Yeah, really coming down to just those final couple of shots that each team was going to be able to get off as the circle was closing in there, as we got pressed to the very, very end of our circle yet again. But what an epic battle it was at the end. And obviously, big congratulations going to Phoenix for finally taking a win. That's going to leave us with the question, is it enough of an impact for them to take over on the scoreboard? Remember, their opponents nearly a 30-point lead over 2nd place there. So there's a lot to catch up from. But at the same time, Phoenix kept up the aggression, still had a lot of kills going into their favor. But is it enough to outpace Paradox? That'll be the big question, of course, as we jump into our break here, folks, between matches 6 and 7. Stick with us, as coming up right around the corner here, we've got the 7th game of the day. There's man, I can't even finish my sentence. There's 2 games left here today, so we'll see you in a sec, guys. And we're back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I'll be able to finish my sentences this time as we get ready to jump into our 7th game of the day. For the GLL Masters Spring, our South American finals well underway here, starting to show us some very clear leaders on the statistics. So as soon as we have them available, we'll go ahead and take a look here at the most recent game stats.
Well, some exciting stuff popping off inside of that last game. Some names that we've talked about earlier in the day. Phoenix team coming back to win inside of match 6, and what a win it was, placing high, 9 kills as well. But they were actually followed up by 2 squads, one that we've been talking about prior but not finding the results that we wanted. Fake Love Black finishing 2nd, and then Loyalty in 3rd.
Loyalty and Fake Love Black definitely making some big impact there. Loyalty has really been trying to fight for a while here to get themselves high up on the scoreboard and has generally been having some pretty high kill games too. So that'll make a very big impact and a very big dent overall on their scoreboard. Fake Love Black, in the meantime, they have unfortunately had a really rough run. So they're going to go from nearly the bottom of the pack all the way up to 11th as a result of that. But unfortunately for Phoenix, Paradox still getting a couple points there, and the overall lead that they had coming off of the 2 wins from previously is still a little bit too much for Phoenix team at this point. They're still behind by about 5 points overall here. Phoenix team with 2 wins as well, but really not enough to outmatch Paradox as they are just barely hanging on there at 82.
Well, the good news for them is we have 2 matches still left to play today, but looking across the board from where we started today, Dynamics. Oh, what a fall from grace we have seen. Only 10 kills and 1 strong placement. Currently in 8th right now with Casual Gamers just ahead of them, which we've been on board with them quite a few times throughout all of this series. And honestly, it's honestly quite weird to see them so far down at this moment right now. The leaders actually having double their points right now.
Yeah, these are like really clear leaders at this point in time. So even if one of the, like 4th through 5th place, 4th through 8th place, even like teams manages to pick up a win here with 10 plus kills, it's not going to make enough of a difference. Like they're still going to see these other 2 teams hold the top 2 spots. That's assuming those teams get 0 points for this game too. So a really, really strong lead being built up here. We're going to have to see another team really pick up the pace for not only these final 2 games today, but the 8 games coming up tomorrow as well, if they want to make the difference and bump either Phoenix or other leading team out of the top 2.
Well, they're definitely giving themselves a comfortable lead, even separating from 3rd place at this moment. It really seems like these 2 are going to be hotly contesting that 1st place finish. And I'm honestly here for it, being able to track them throughout all of their maps so far. They've been extremely consistent, and you can tell the difference amongst these 2 squads as for the rest of the field. But guys, we're just around the corner from our next match. But guys, please do not forget that this is not the only day that this is going down. Not only do we have this match that we're jumping into right now, but we also have the match 8 coming up just after this one, and all of tomorrow for some Apex Legends action here with the GLL Masters Spring.
To talk about some of the other teams here while we are dropping in, we'll keep our eyes on Phoenix team, of course, since they are the winners of the previous matchup. But just to mention some of the other squads we've had played out, kind of surprising to see Team Brave Soldiers so low overall, as they're somewhere between 10th and 15th place right now. They've been in a lot of the important fights. They've usually been trying to vie for some type of control, and at minimum, at least are trying to get aggressive against some of the leaders here right now. But from what we've been able to see, unfortunately, not able to actually make the impact. They either get unlucky and end up getting third-partied out of the fight before they can really rack up the kills, or just end up having to back away because they can't initiate. So that's another team that I've definitely seen quite a bit from here today, but it's not reflecting very well them on the scoreboard for the 6 games that have been played out so far.
Yeah, same thing can be said for Elite BR as well. We've been able to keep up with them consistently throughout all of today, but they just can't seem to leave their mark on any of the times that we've been able to watch them. They've more been on the receiving end of a lot of the problems that we've seen, most notably them getting dogpiled on and immediately rotated on as well. There's just been a couple of engagements that they just can't get to go their way. So hopefully we can see some improvements inside of these last 2 matches today. But already having well, actually truly no engagement, got baited there just by a second for trials, but always got to remember that they're shooting those targets inside of there.
Yeah, just trying to take that out to unlock the loot for themselves. So once again, everything is going to be pretty quiet here at World's Edge, as all 20 of our teams will be given the space they need to get their initial loot. And whoa,
this is some impressive drone flying.
It's Australian World's Edge.
Everyone grab your gravity harnesses. We're going for a trip.
Just went into everybody see. Oh, no, I don't want to spoil that. Never mind. I was gonna make a reference to the new King Kong movie, but
oh no, yeah, you can't do that yet.
I'm gonna wait. I gotta wait a couple more weeks on that one. So
man, I made such a good joke a couple days ago about something that happened in WandaVision, and my mom was so angry at me.
yeah, I know. There's like not everybody binge watches that stuff.
They're watching some stupid TV shows right now on Netflix. I'm just like, guys, you gotta finish this up, man. Like, why? Can you tell me, Blue, why am I trying to afford Disney Plus for my parents by commentating all of these video games, and they're not even gonna use the dang thing? I mean, come on.
I don't know, man. You gotta take that up with them, I guess.
Keeps me up
sounds
at
like
night.
sounds like a personal problem. Either way, loyalty though already getting some heat set their way as King's gonna have to get himself on cover relatively quickly. Don't even know if they've gotten cells for themselves just as of yet, so may just be half. Oh, there we go. There's a cell. So he's gonna be able to get himself back up the full after all. It seems him as well as Invictus and Bin will try to quickly retreat from those positions after being challenged by another squad in the area.
Well, loyalty, I'm gonna have some issues for right now, but obviously expecting this to go by the wayside very soon. No one really truly wanting to engage early on, especially as this first ring hasn't even been let out just yet. We're not even past that point as of right now. So instead, it's simply going to be trying to find as many potent firearms as they possibly can, as well as trying to get some mats stacked up. But as for Flying High, they are in a completely different scenario. They're already stacked up and ready for war. The war room doors are open, and it seems like business has started. EMP in. It'll stop Neo from being able to complete that shield battery. He'll set down his shield instead, start that back up as the rest of his squad flies into this engagement.
We're going to see more of them trying to jump into it. Specifically, their Crypto Trabs getting into the heat here, downing Grego, going for a second over the next second here too, and that's going to work out. Insomnia, one of the first teams out here, is they're going to get wiped completely by Flying High.
And Flying High just better overall inside of that engagement. They had the better weaponry, the better shields.
Hold on.
It's gonna be way too hard for Insomnia, but now Flying High with some more problems as yet another bombardment comes down on top of them. Trap's taking a lot of damage as well. He's not able to shield up, and it seems like he might be sliding right into that toilet that we just saw for just a split second, as Neo also gonna be taking up too much damage, could possibly be down, but he's actually gonna get his shield back out as some arc stars start to land around them. But the safe harbor all of a sudden not safe anymore. Wolf trying to find greener pastures, but he's all of a sudden turned to the sheep as Tempest take control of not this engagement, but also the entire game. Kill leader now towards Tempest.
Tempest capitalizing on the third-party capability against Fly High right there. And wasn't going to be expecting to see so much action so quickly, but that's the problem with those choke points. So much access to so many different parts of the map can be gained from them, and that means audio is going to bleed through pretty heavily as well, attracting quite a few characters you may have not been expecting, at least as far as Flying High's case is concerned. So Tempest gets the revenge from that, as Stokes mentioned. They get Kill Leader as well, at least 3 KPs going their way off of that. See if they'll continue to build up. As I mean, look, they pretty much control this entire part of the map here now, down on the bottom left side. They've got their picks. They just have to play off the audio cues here and move from there.
Imagine how powerful you must feel being able to literally control an entire thermal station. I mean, just so much energy, you know, so much power. But well, as we continue to see how this is going to go, apart from some magazines and waiting on everything inside of the lobby right now, looks like we're finally going to have some more firepower, or some more shots being exchanged, excuse me, over near Harvester and Sorting Factor. We could have a possible pinch going on without name involved in this, as well as I believe that's not Dynamics. I'm trying to see where Cafazin is. It's actually Casual Gamers over here as well. The green circle near Countdown getting quite a few bodies stacked up in the meantime.
So no actual engagements transpiring between them just as of yet, but as Stokes was mentioning, Casual Gamers very, very close to the fight itself and seemingly escaping it now from what I can tell. DK, of course, there still has himself the death protection in the event the fight was going to continue, but it seems as though they've already been able to clean up what was left over here, just kind of picking up stuff from the loot boxes now as they get ready to work their way over to their next target. Also, care package on the ground for them here, so let's see, any big guns?
Oh, got an anvil.
Oh, PK. Nice.
Oh, that's a big boy. Personal favorite of mine. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah. Big fan of that.
Oh, gotta be.
This one, it was an actual gun, but.
Oh. Okay, I think we all understand why it happened, though.
Yeah.
That gun just rips. It is so good. It's so good. We'll see if Casual Gamers can put it to the test later on. I love that Capizin is the one that has it right now as well, because as long as he's in good hands with DK, I think everything will be pretty strong on their engagements.
I'll switch over to Elite BR. Take a look at what they've been up to, as they've got a good amount of map control to work off of right now, as well as snipers to try to get some chip damage going here, seeing if they can level up those Evo shields early on in the game. Get past this blue one that Jinx is working with right now before he has to hand that off to a teammate and try to level up these other ones here. Either way, going to be relatively safe with their position and, more importantly, control over Countdown here, which up until a second ago didn't seem to be contested, but it seems as though they may have found a player across the way at this zone.
Well, seems like we have one squad here, and I believe it's going to be Fenrir. Yes, it is. So they're holding down the building exactly opposite of Elite for the time being. Could also have some more rotations coming in soon enough, but don't believe that's going to happen, as the circle's actually going to be working in on itself from Countdown, rather than Countdown being the center point for that. Quite a few squads still outside of this circle, 2 over near Sorting Factory, as well as 1 at the top right of this current area. So that encloses on itself. I'm sure we're going to have some engagements pop off quite soon.
Got another one of our squads rotating their way over, potentially into EVL quarters here as well, if they continue to go on the predicted path that we were expecting. We're catching up with Loyalty in the meanwhile as well, a team that's slowly been increasing their impact on a game-to-game basis here. Not overall starting out with too much in the first match, but we've been seeing them pretty consistently since then, and have usually been a pretty aggressive squad, not afraid to jump on a team they know they can potentially have an advantage on if they can get the right to initiate. We're going to make a move here. I don't believe it's towards any specific opponent, but more so just trying to secure future. Oh, wow, this is actually going to be really bad. Kings getting absolutely melted as another squad suddenly jumps onto them. Bin also losing nearly all of his shields, forcing batteries out of both of them. And King's going to have to try and actually get health healed up in a second or two. But no, I think that's actually a completely separate squad from the one that was just shooting at them, still keeping the fire up as Kings and the rest of Loyalty fall back into the supply truck.
Well, fantastic reposition from them given the circumstances, and you can see all of the firepower starting to rain down on top of them. Antisocial aimers from across the way with their own delivery of some rounds, as well as another mortar strike coming in, but not going to deal too much when it comes to casual gamers. So, or excuse me, Loyalty. So for these guys now, simply wait back and try and build these shields back up. The only issue is now, though, is these shields have been broken quite a few times, so materials could be low.
Definitely a possibility, especially as pressure continues to build up against Loyalty. You can see Singularity just on the cliff above them, ready to put pressure if the need should arise. They're going to hold in this circle for right now. No need to be pressured out of this position as of yet. The only reason they'd want to move from here is if they're either forced out or think that this is not going to be a good game plan long term, which, to be fair, the latter of those two thought patterns is a very high likelihood right now, considering they already have one team putting pressure onto them, and it's not a very high ground position that they're playing from. So could be pinched out very easily by another squad that works their way in through a nice jump pad or another movement ability.
Well, every squad, as of right now, currently clutching the pearls. Don't necessarily want to give away the bag, as we are approaching and rapidly the end of the day. Everyone trying to maximize their points, and you can't exactly blame them, John. There's a lot of money on the line for these teams. So you get a beautiful shot over Train Yard. So many squads around this area right now. We have Elite, as well as, I believe, 2 others that we just saw in there as well, but always possible rotations that we could come that could come through from some other areas. But seems like we finally have some engagements going on around Lava Fisher. TBS getting into it with AIE Alpha Intelligence. Let's see how alpha they are, as they're currently getting rushed down. It's down to Buxton inside the building. Scanner seemingly not found anywhere, as he'll actually win out the engagement. Alpha indeed, as he'll be able to get up Buxed as well as his teammate. Some nice KPs for them, but the re-engagement already coming through. They need to get on top of this and try and get some more math before Fenrir make this unwinnable.
Gold Shield gonna have to really try and save them, but at the same time, Caustic Mines working their way in. The gas grenade ready to be deployed as well here by Zoltan, but all of a sudden, we're gonna see more players jumping in from up on top. That's gonna be Zillax from Fenrir coming in, trying to take these guys out and doing a fantastic job of it. Zero and Bucks both go down there, and that's AIE immediately traded and wiped out by Fenrir.
Amazing engagement there from them, and it happens once again, Blue. We've seen this throughout all of today with Fenrir. They're able to third party so successfully. I don't think that they've missed their mark on a single one of these attempts just yet. We'll have to keep up on that, but obviously some of the earlier games were a little bit more rough than others. Either way though, their engagements throughout have been just fantastic to watch. But as we're switching gears here and hopping on board with a couple of our other squads, we have Without Name, the possible play onto Monkey and the boys up here on top of Countdown still. Really nothing happening just yet, but you have Panic working his way up, trying to get some reconnaissance. As Monkey and Kindy also on a forward position. Folks is actually all the way back, still inside of Countdown, but working his way forward now as the ult goes out. Panic and Without Name, without a chance for the time being, as there's separation in between them in this mortar strike.
Arcstar is going to come down there. Thankfully, the Gimme Shield should be able to allow Panic to deal with most of the brunt of that damage. Good movement from him to be able to get out of the way of that, and will continue to be the case as they fall back further and further, deciding that this position just isn't worth it. They need to go further back down the tunnel, but they're not really going to be given the option to do that. The pressure still being kept up by their opponents on the other side of this engagement. That is, of course, until they wrap the bend back over into the actual tunnel itself here, finally giving up on the other side of that one.
And with this lineup that they have, they'll have an opportunity to play this to both advantages, to be completely honest with you. You can be very defensive with Gibby and Bloodhound, but also with Octane in the mix, that aggression can come out with that ult. We'll see if they go for the re-engage anytime soon, but more than likely not. Still 12 squads remain, and we haven't seen anyone truly trying to get into anybody's faces without a clear advantage. But now, finally, it seems like Loyalty are going to have some problems inside of this building. There's a ruckus of brewing with shotguns for every single person, seemingly continuing on. And oh no, it seems like we're having even more problems now. A death totem out and everyone stacking inside of this single two-story. What is going on? OnlyFans Loyalty finally finding some space, being able to slip out the back door.
Phoenix barely surviving that engagement too, still keeping themselves alive though, since they weren't able to hold on to the position beforehand, fending off those aggressors trying to swing into them. Kifaria, now the last player still standing alive for Tempest, and gonna have to try and survive, if at all possible, on this Revenant. Phoenix wrapping back in, coming in to clean up shop here in the meantime, as they'll move in, immediately drop one player, and there's more right around the bend, and they're chasing it.
And Phoenix just too strong when it comes to this third-party position once again. But finally, some pushback from the other squads. You're not going to get away with it as easily on this tiny circle, especially given 11 squads still remain. 32 people inside of such a tiny circle at this moment. This is truly going to be an insane finish to match 7 here today, as it's continued to get to this boiling point throughout. All of these squads starting to fight fire with fire. Really close engagements all throughout all of this. Phoenix, actually, excuse me, with some very strong positioning, have the high ground on one squad, but now seemingly in some trouble of their own.
We'll have to try and see if Phoenix will be able to make a push forward here. Singularity in the meantime, as we switch over towards another squad under a lot of pressure right now. Brand holding the line with this Mastiff, trying to prevent his opponents from dropping over this wall, which is their only semblance of cover they have to play off of. Oh no, a mess up here from Brand. He's going to be able to actually kind of save his own life by jumping through that shield. We had the defensive bombardment coming down. He's just going to continue to scurry back and forth between these two positions until he's finally in a spot where Ohm or another member of Singularity would potentially be able to get him back up. There we go. In is going to come the revive now. That'll bring Singularity more than likely back up to 3. Dynamics will switch over to them now. Also trying to get aggressive here, but Aimbot paying the price for that. Jupertinsky still playing behind this wall as well, and being pressed upon by Krim at the same time. Both of these guys going to try to back out. The Phoenix kit needing to come out for Krim here before he exposes himself again, and for Aimbot Machine might actually be recoverable here. He's lurking himself towards his teammates. There's a slight chance to be able to sneak him back in, but we'll also switch again over to Fenrir, who survived the onslaught against them from that jump earlier. Zilach now picking up the gold shield to work with that. We'll see what he's going to be able to leverage with it.
All based off of positioning right now as Fenrir tries to reposition. Speaking of it, they're going to lose Zoltam now though, as a bombardment just does too much damage. We can see Elysium Branson Actually hopping into the mix here for Singularity, and oh my, Elite might have some strong positioning here to cut them off. Could have a possible rotation in as all hell is broken loose across Train Yard. This circle continuing to collapse on top of all of these squads. Hopping on board with antisocial Ambers now is Turo, currently shooting directly into this Gibby shield, trying to catch them as they rotate out. But the shield finally stopping in its tracks. These squads trying to find some safe harbor. Grenades back and forth towards each other. Antisocial Aimers, though, still able to stay on top of things. Haven't had to risk too much given the circumstances, so they'll be able to play safe and hop back on the crypto drone.
We see another team here trying to jump on Krim. He's one of the last players standing for his squad. That'll be the elimination of them, just catching a quick wipe. Another EMP coming in as EVL trying to jump into the fight. Paradox, in the meantime, still in this fight, still trying to hold on to their lead, which they're at risk of losing to Phoenix now, and they're at risk of getting eliminated here as well. Nellis, the only one still standing for Paradox after losing 2 of his teammates in the previous fight. It's a quick shield swap so that he can go for these reses here, and his other teammate going to try to cover his back to make sure that down shield that he won't get hit in the head randomly here and get taken down. There's the first res. Second one going to come in as well. So they're back to full strength. Maycam actually making some impact inside of this game too. We've been relatively silent on their part for a couple of rounds, but now going to try to see if they can battle back into it as they're still holding on.
And they've cracked the top 5. Great finish for them, but obviously they want the blood. They want to finish this at the top. They want all the smoke. They want all the blood, and it's working out for them. You can see the damage coming through. Maycam continue their assault. They fly off the pad, trying to find the remainder of this squad in the rocks, but they can't seemingly get up the side of this mountain. They just don't have the proper equipment. Might need some new shoes or something like that. But as for Novak, as well as his teammate, they have some strong positioning up here, able to shoot down into this valley, and this is putting quite a bit of pressure on all of these squads. Some more Gibby ults flying in as well.
Savage Santa, one of the last players still standing for Evolve here. Paradox as well, back up to full strength with all 3 players in the fight. The big question is Phoenix still in this one, or did we see them get wiped out a couple moments ago among the chaos of the closing circle? I'm trying to keep an eye on the kill feed and get a good answer. No, Phoenix 2 is in this, but not Phoenix 1 anymore. Phoenix 2 has been trying to fight from the back this entire time as well, and this might be their game to do it. They bled into the top 3. Andy, Monkey, and Folks, this is trying to make an impact. They've got that little tiny slit to see through and try to find some damage onto their opponents through it. Good job from them. That should wipe out their opponents, bringing us down to the final 2 between what should at this point be Phoenix 2 and Paradox.
Well, circle not starting off just yet. 55 seconds until it starts collapsing on itself. Phoenix 2 doing a very good job of repositioning and get a lot of materials here. They're set up for this fight, but the issue now is simply positioning. They have the low ground, and that's usually not the best thing when it comes to Apex. Finally, the engagement starts off. The Bloodhounds down. Paradox Esports all over the situation once again, and they're making it just look too damn easy. 2 already down. I believe the last member alive as the damage is coming through, and Paradox punch him for the last kill. It's the uppercut, and I believe that's 3 games for them on the day. Some impressive stuff coming out from them. A lot of times people say you can't find consistency inside of BRs, but these guys, they're just looking lights out when it comes to it on every single one of these battles.
That's 3 games now won by Paradox. The second game where we've just shown a mastery of positioning on their part, able to play first in Geyser from the inside of that central building, where they faced off against 2 to 3 other squads trying to push them out of it, but every single time came out on top of the fight. And in the final circle here as well, once again, getting the high ground to play off of and leverage into a win for themselves to be able to take a 3rd W here today on the day, winning almost half of our games that we've played.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that that's the most impressive thing from this, and especially given the circumstances that we didn't really have any VOD on Paradox. We had no idea about these guys coming into this, but after today, I can definitely tell you I will not forget that name. These guys have been blowing everyone else out of the water. It's just been so very impressive. Granted, Phoenix has been also showing up. We saw them early on inside of match 7, getting a lot of solid engagements, being able to third party quite a few times. I'm excited to see how this scoreboard is looking now.
Bit of a fall from grace, unfortunately, for Phoenix One. As Stokes had been mentioning, they find themselves eliminated earlier on and then making impact, and we're definitely trying to do the same. Pretty sure they made it into the top 10, but past that, I'm unsure where they finally placed off, and more importantly, how many kills they were able to net themselves, as that's been a big part of their game plan that's been allowing them to stay in contention here, and more importantly, stay in second place, just a couple steps behind Paradox. Problem is, Paradox about to take another leap here with the win they just got. You know they've got a couple kills capitalized upon that, and that's going to boost them even further past Phoenix One yet again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like they've just hit their stroke of luck. It's not even the fact of how well they're playing. They're playing so very well right now, but it just seems like there's no drawback to any of their plans. I mean, even the loot box that we saw them find, they're able to get a PK out of it. Like
Yeah.
that's stuff, you don't see that all the time. And these guys that are in the lead continue to find these fantastic firearms, proper materials, and everything else in between. But I'm excited to get into this next match, guys. So let's get to this break so we can get into our final match of the day and see that scoreboard. We'll see you here in just a couple of seconds.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the GLL Masters Spring. We're just about ready to hop into our final match of the day. Just to clarify, not the final match of the tournament just yet. That'll be tomorrow, but we're reaching the halfway point. We obviously don't want to make our players play for 16 straight games of Apex in one sitting. So we're going to give them a nice break between today and tomorrow before we play out the remaining half of this final. Either way, let's take a quick look at the standings from game number 7 and see where we're primed to be here as we get ready to jump into the final match of the day and the final time for these teams to make impact.
Well, some exciting stuff popping off inside of match 7, folks. So let's break it down for you. Our boys Paradox Esports have shot back up to the top of the standings, and they look so dynamic inside of match 7, playing every circle perfectly, as well as maintaining very strong position. But you can see across the board, this top 5 looks completely different from what we've been seeing throughout the day. A lot of these squads falling off early. Insomnia, a squad we've been seeing constantly finish inside of the top 10 out. Phoenix as well, flying high. Dynamics, Loyalty, Casual Gamers, Nocturnes. I mean, everyone just not having a very strong game here, where Paradox seems to be the constant. These guys just so strong throughout all of today. And here is our current leaderboard, guys. You can see the massive separation between Paradox and Phoenix right now. That's 35 points, if my math checks out here, in between those two.
It's 25, but yeah, 25.
Oh yeah, because it's
sure.
80. Yeah,
but either way,
I did
nearly
70.
Yeah. Listen, never make a caster do math, right?
never do math live, folks.
It's like the one
live.
mistake. But anyway, still, like just as large of a lead either way, right? For Paradox, and that's an unfortunate fall for grace from Team Phoenix, or Phoenix One, for anybody. Just clarify that there are 2 Phoenixes on the scoreboard, because Phoenix One was only like 3 or 4 points away from tying it up against Paradox going into the start of that previous game due to the great run they had, and then a massive fall from grace, only able to get 2 to 3 points out of that last game right there. So they're going to be on catch-up duty for this game, and really the only thing that Phoenix will have to worry about in that respect, because I have no doubt Phoenix are going to be able to make an impact again here, is if Paradox will stay as consistent as they have been. 3 wins. We're seeing them in the top 5 almost every single game. 46 kills. And to be fair, Phoenix are keeping up with them at 44. But either way, it's that consistent top 5 or better placement from Paradox that's allowing them to stay in the top 1 position so effortlessly right now.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem, is that usually inside of these things, you see some other team taking something away, right? Whether it be through placement points, or what we usually see is kills, but they have both of them secured. Most kills, most placement points. I mean, as of today, these guys are looking unstoppable, but we still have one more match to go, Blue. Do you think they can do it again? Can they get the 50% win rate here in the grand finals of Masters Spring?
I mean, hey, it's a statistical probability at this point more than anything, right? They won more games than any other team, but at the same time, there is a lot of variables to that effect, and we've already seen Paradox get pushed out of the game once, able to make a minimal impact, similarly to how Phoenix was put in that same position in the last game. That happens again. Phoenix has a big game once more. They're going to be knocking right at the door of that first place lead, and we're going to have a tight race indeed. But it's important to note we've got a couple other teams still sitting right below them that are going to be looking to still make an impact, not only in this final game today, but in the 8 games coming up tomorrow as well. We've got just as much action, just as many point opportunities for all of our teams. Nobody is out of the running just yet, but we certainly have some front runners to be sure.
Yeah, this is going to be the halfway point after we're done with this match. So we'll have a good read on the situation going into tomorrow. But as of right now, there's still points on the line that these teams need to secure before we can get to that point. And make sure you guys don't go away after this match is done either. We still have to update the scoreboard and show you guys what is going to be going on before we join back tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to give us a good preview of what exactly will be on the line for these teams. Who needs to step up? Who needs to really step up? And who just needs to keep things rocking the same way they are right now? I can already answer that last question for you right now, probably, but let's hold our breath for this final match. Like I said, should just be a couple more seconds away from getting things started as we rally all of our teams into the lobby one final time for that one final drop into World's Edge here today.
Yeah, some exciting stuff nevertheless, but extremely excited to see what is going to happen inside of this last match, especially given Paradox and their circumstances. I mean, we've been going on about them throughout all of today, but I mean, if they're able to win this match right here, uh, I mean, winning half of the matches in a singular day is truly insane when it comes down to this. I mean, we have 20 squads here all competing, and to see their name time and time again inside of the top 5 and continually winning out these engagements, I mean, that's got to be a very daunting thing for a lot of these squads. When you see them on the battlefield, obviously, you know, they're the kings wearing the crown. You want to take that away from them, but you run a very high risk in doing so.
Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, the thing is, though, Paradox is not being contested in a couple important factors of the way they're playing this game right now, specifically when it comes to positioning. They're getting such strong positions so early on in the game, and they're not giving them up, whether it's a building or just a high ground initiative that they can use to absolutely assault anyone that tries to work their way onto them. They take it first, and anyone who tries to get aggressive in their face is usually paying a pretty hefty price for it, if not outright getting wiped. So that begs the question, what is the strategy to counter these guys? How do we work around them? How do we overwhelm them and finally get enough pressure on them to where we can force them out in an open gunfight? Because unfortunately, they don't have a bad record for that. They're absolutely dominating when it comes to any sort of even fights. You have to try and force them into the open, force them into an awkward position where not only your squad, but potentially 2 to 3 other squads can pepper shots down onto them and just leave them with no capability to make any aggressive plays, ultimately just bleeding out their mats and leaving them with nothing to do in the late game there. That's what teams have to try and do if they're looking to try and knock Paradox down. But obviously in a BR where everybody's fighting everyone, a concerted effort like that is pretty unlikely, if not outright impossible.
Exactly. When kills actually equate to points inside of the grand finals and inside of the GLL, you're going to have people constantly trying to engage you. They don't care if another person's shooting at you. As long as they get the kill, that's all that matters. So it's not, oh, you know, they're in an engagement, we're just going to back off and let them do their thing. That is not what happens at all inside of these matches. And honestly, that makes it even more exciting. At any point, everything could go completely sideways for Paradox and we can just have a completely different winner tomorrow. You never know. And that's exactly why we play these games and we don't just look at a stats sheet.
At the same time, guys, just talking about some of the other squads sitting in our top 2 contention, Phoenix being the other one here, unable to make any significant impact back in game number 7. Only 2 points coming out from that one. Still in second place, but now the 3rd and 4th place teams knocking at their own door, meaning that they need to once again show up with a big impact here as well. And keep in mind, Phoenix have also won 2 games today as well. They could suddenly bounce back, give us a 3rd win on their part, and leave us with a near tie between our 2 front runners right now. So really just the story between those 2 teams here and seeing who else might be able to sneak up in this final match here to make a significant impact and maybe come into contention with our other 2 squads in the front right now.
Yeah, they haven't been able to find the same consistency of our friends over on Paradox, but they've definitely been as lethal, and that's something you can definitely argue for these guys, if not more. So we'll see if they can possibly get a good rotation here and finish out strong on day 1 for us. But finally, folks, we're here. It's match 8 as we jump on board with Paradox, our 3-time winner here today, to see who will win out inside of this final matchup.
Same landing spots as before, I believe. Coming in for Paradox here is they're going to take control of a very open area of the map. And actually, Besk having info on one player, gets himself a charge rifle, certainly has the range to try to play that out, but not wanting to take it since he is relatively far away from the rest of his teammates at this point in the match. So with them landing down and spreading out so heavily in that area of the map over here, I believe
Oh,
towards what's up?
I think we might. Yeah, I think Paradox are actually going to get in this
They
engagement.
are. Yep, they're
Actually,
jumping onto them over there. They went right away from Harvester and are immediately trying to swing over towards staging. That's where we have at least one team waiting off. You could see Nellis on the other end of that pinch too. They could really completely swarm the team holding staging right now if they play this correctly. They just got to be super careful with the split they have. You know, obviously Nellis being super far apart from them, that they don't end up overcommitting and losing a player early in the fight.
and this could be a possible issue for either of these squads, given just how little time has elapsed inside of the actual game. This is going to be very dependent on current loot for these two, on how this engagement is going to go. More than likely, those heavier shields with some decent firearms will end up winning that, but we'll have to get back to it if it even happens. They could just simply square up and back off of each other. You never know, especially with Paradox and their consistency here today. They might not want to try and give it up inside of a first engagement here on stage.
There
And
we
we'll
go.
have to see. It looks like the damage is finally coming through here at staging. Are they going to be able to secure
I
this
think they already
entire
won it.
group? I think they already won. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that they've actually already done it. Yeah, Paradox. Let's see. All
There we
three
go,
frags
19
going to
squads.
Nellis as well. He's caught all three.
So that's going to be already Paradox taking the lead.
Oh,
Three more
man.
points going onto the board for them, at least here.
Who even was that?
I couldn't tell because the color wasn't being too kind to my eyes, so I couldn't read the names. But
Extremely blue, extremely blue. But nevertheless, Paradox shoot out into the lead yet again, simply based off of kill points. Some fantastic stuff for them.
and that's going to leave them with not just one, but two potential zones to loot out. More than likely, Harvester is going to get scavenged by another team. I think there was already one in that area. Yeah, our very, very light blue team sitting over there. I think that's Kafazin's squad that was able to loot that a couple of seconds ago. So they've already taken control of that. Yep, casual gamers looting up Harvester and now starting to move over either towards Geyser or moving up towards Fragment. They're kind of trying to make a choice here, as I believe they've got loyalty close to them and they may be well aware of that.
Well, I also do believe that's flying high down there. Yes, it is. Coming up from Sorting Factory. Could have a possible engagement yet again as Aimbox, Juper, and the rest of the squad fly in to staging yet again. And we're going to have Paradox with another possible engagement. Oh, no. Oh, actually seems like now over here at Countdown, Panic with some problems. Getting ran on down from RCL, Euphoria, and Madman. But playing this quite slow for the time being. No one getting too aggressive, as just remember, this has just started here, but RCL already with a slightly poor move into the building. They're taking so much damage right now from these shotguns. The Death Totem brings them back alive, but Madman, not very much HP. He's going to continue to try and battle back, but it's not going to work out for them. They are going to get it down. Can the Volt do it? Oh no, gets inside, follows through, and Renerza able to lock it out and get back up. Panic, some fantastic stuff here for Without Name.
It's going to be Guiferia, the last to fall there, Without Name, picking up a big win for them. Another 3 kills going into their control. Back over here for Loyalty in the meanwhile. They have met a challenge back over towards Geyser now that they've jumped into it. And they're going to see their opponents on the other side of the fight. We'll take a look. They've already got a good lock onto one of these guys sitting directly down below. Been giving out the info. Trying to play it carefully, of course, because I think this player's teammates may be right around the corner. Trying not to overcommit to that, but either way, Bin getting the swing. There's the crack onto the Gibby. Just has to finish him off now. 4 shots left in the Eva. Can he get it done before he runs away here? He's trying to keep up with the stim as well. The shield to further block things off. This is getting dangerous because he's potentially running into his opponent's territory. There's the commitment. And meanwhile, back to casual gamers who hold the line, taking out Neo, who runs directly into the stack for them.
Not only that, but his Cap is in with an aggressive play, and he's wingman Mozambique right now. Just notice that as they're flying through the building as he continues to pop off Mozambique shots. But they'll back off and move on down to the shield cells instead. And you can't exactly blame them. They don't want to get the cart in front of the horses here. There's a lot more on the line than just frags. And so far, this match 8 has been so incredibly explosive. We continue to see these engagements across the entire board.
And he knows it's the last game of the day, so teams have constantly been getting more and more aggressive with their play styles, knowing that they get to relax at least for a little bit after this one. Some teams trying to make that last impact for the day, trying to get those extra KPs if they know it can make the difference in pushing them over the edge for the next team that sits in front of them, or even, of course, outpacing the team that sits just behind them. But either way, already 4 squads dead here, and we're only just closing off the first circle. The Brave Soldiers, in the meanwhile, Team Brave Soldiers way out on the west side going to be pushed in. That'll potentially force fights between them and 1 or 2 other squads who are in the same part of this map by Skyhook, and even further south here to the south east of staging there. You've got another squad as well, Insomnia, right on the edge of the circle, potentially going to be pushed into Team Brave Soldiers.
We have Geyser Valley looking more like Silicon Valley with the amount of people currently living in it. There is so many people here. At any moment in time, this can all go so very wrong as well. Looks like we're going to have an engagement down near Sorting Factory as well, though, as we jump on board with Juper and his squad. Panic without name. They're bearing down on top of them, and they actually have pretty strong positioning up top on the train tracks. This will give them really solid overlook, and they'll be able to continue to deal damage to the team as they try to cross through. They'll hit the geyser as the redeploy and fly out of the situation.
Trying to get themselves into safer quarters here. They'll be able to work their way into the tunnel, make it out of the worst of this, although Crim still in a tough spot. And here's the other problem too, the circle starting to close in against them, so they'll have to wrap around very quickly or suffer the consequences, whether that's reduced mats or just having to play this out low HP, or even worse, of course, outright getting caught here by the circle and killed by it. Certainly not a way they'd want to end the game, but let's get an update on our team tracker here. Antisocial Aimers, Flying High, Tempest, and Cerberus all being knocked out. And aside from that, what we can see, everybody else still has all 3 players up and standing. So remaining squad's going to be relatively healthy. The 16 still up.
Well, that's 1 ring down and 4 squads dusted. Very unfortunate day here for Team Cerberus, as well, as they've been barely able to find any points, currently on the bottom of the leaderboard, and they've been wiped out yet again. So hopefully tomorrow is a little bit of a better day for them, with a possibility to get in the money, but we'll have to wait until tomorrow to see if that can possibly happen. As of now, though, an update back inside of Geyser and what's going on there. There's actually more people currently rotating to this area. We can see Dynamics as they've made the rotation through the mountain, through the tunnels, and are currently waiting to work back outside. And yes, here we go, finally with the overlook of the valley here in Geyser. And oh my, the amount of squads.
Fake Love sitting right on the edge over in the next canyon, and at least one other squad to the one to our left as well, with plenty more on the way. So it's looking like we may end up with a Geyser ending yet again here. That was probably one of our most epic matches we had coming to a close there too. Lots of cover for every team to play around for the most part. A couple getting pushed out into the open somewhat unfortunately, but still, for the most part, everybody having something to fight for, and everybody, for the most part, having a chance. AIE and FL, Fake Love. AIE here trying to potentially engage upon each other as they both sit in buildings directly across. So far, no one willing to take the risk on the outright jump just as of yet here. Taking pot shots where they can find them and healing up as the need should arise.
Well, jumping on board with Fenrir now as they found a battle of their own. Currently holding down the fort with their Caustic, using that extremely well, but they're going to get aggressive, break the shield of the, I believe, Wraith here. No, actually, that's going to be a down onto the Bloodhound. Fantastic stuff and a great start here for Fenrir inside of this engagement. Beast of the Hunt still working extremely well for Trumanjar as they clean up absolutely everyone inside of that squad. And that's a pretty big name as well. I'm just going to cross-reference really quickly before we jump into this. Yes, it is indeed Phoenix 1. Just wanted to double check that. That's actually a huge frag. Phoenix no longer dog in this fight, and that's a huge deal as they're currently in second.
Assuming Paradox still in the fight, that means they'll have free reign to assert dominance over the scoreboard at this point. Whatever they gain, it'll push them even further ahead of their opponents in Phoenix 1, since we see them get knocked out so early again inside of this game, even further back than the last game as well. So the results are actually getting worse for them. We've got another fight going on. Loyalty pressing in big time here. Panic going to end up going down, and Vin is going to continue the fight. Found another target to lock onto. He's going to hop in, has the Prowler to play off of. Why not get aggressive here, as that's going to be another successful squad wipe going under the Loyalty banner here. 3 more kill points going their way as well.
And they got to be happy about that one, is they're finally able to find some more influential frags that also give them some more materials going down to these last handful of circles. We're only now closing in on round 2 though, but it's been an explosive couple of circles here as everyone continues to apparently buy more land inside of the valley. I mean, now every time we come back, there's more people here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's like a new tech industry here. It could be anything, but we do have some aggressive play going on now as Dynamics try to take over, I believe, Phoenix 2's building.
The craziest part about what's going on right here to the north of Geyser, as well, is the fact that everybody's just fighting for, in large part, rotations down to Geyser, which aren't even going to be super useful now. When you see the circle there, it won't be too generous to the people that are inside of Geyser. It's going to close off a lot more aggressively to the north. So the players that are holding here on the outskirts of Fragment are actually in a much better position for the long game right now. And this real estate going to be that much more valuable because of it. We can even see here one of our teams rotating back through Jupertinsky's squad to the inside of the tunnel to get up there to the north and get out of what's going to be this crazy fight to rotate out of Geyser now.
That's going to be a really big problem for all of these Geyser squads because Dynamics is actually cutting off the tunnel, as well as there's another squad at the other end holding the pass through the valley. So some problematic things ahead for all of them, but we'll see if they're able to battle through it as we jump on board with Team Brave Soldiers. And they're going to need a lot more than bravery to get them through this, as Loyalty is bearing down on top of them. All of the throwables coming as well. Thermal nades in. A lot of damage, but not able to capitalize on anybody just yet. Able to find yet another engagement is Ben, as he'll tank up some members leaving the area, continuing his onslaught, able to break the shield from downrange as well.
Finally get some shots back at him though, and that's mean he's gonna have to go immediately for a rebattery up, and nearly getting downed out right there as he just almost gets outright lasered down the downstate itself. But he'll be able to fall back, thankfully. They've got good coverage. He survives, reignites himself. Singularity in the meantime sneaking right past our opponents sitting on the right side here, making it past it without any sort of contact, because unfortunately Loyalty's still way too focused on this fight against Fenrir right now. They're not going to be able to catch the Singularity rotate, and now that puts them in the middle of a bit of an awkward sandwich here, as they're going to try to move the same direction that Singularity is heading towards.
Well, we're also going to have Kafazin, DK, and Brian here now. Casual gamers out onto the field, and these guys have been so fantastic to watch throughout all of the day. Revenant already launching his silences, but they don't seem to have hit their mark. Good damage exchange back and forth amongst these two, but Casual gamers, they want all of the smoke, folks.
There they go.
They've got Allstate Insurance. Let's see if they're in good hands. They're flying in. They've got the info as well. Hand cannon for Kafazin as he continues to deliver. The shotguns coming alive. Eva 8 eating up every single one of these members as Casual gamers not able to actually make it work. Brian and DK go down in the process. They dealt so much damage to Inbucks and Kings, but it just was not enough at the end of the day. But it's already a re-engage from another squad. Singularity with an insurance policy of their own. They've doubled down. They've upgraded with Geico apparently. Elysium not able to actually get any of that either. They're just going to be on the tailcoats of this squad leaving the area.
There's actually a double third party from what I could tell as well. Team Brave Soldiers tried to jump in at the same exact time from what I was looking at, and I believe they lost one, if not all, of their rosters. So Singularity just being the cap off on that as they're able to work their way back in and finish off the fight. But either way, Paradox still in our little village to the north of Geyser, where we've had quite a few teams camping for some time. You got Fake Love here. Paradox still holding out. AIE also still in the area. Fenrir trying to move in, although only Zilach from what I can see now. There's the rest of the squad. They're going to move in here against Evolve relatively quickly, and that's going to be the first fight of what will, begin to be the end of this match more than likely.
Well, the insane thing right now, Alpha Intelligence as well as FL have both been inside of these buildings for the entirety of this time since we have been here, and that was about 5 to 10 minutes ago. So pretty incredible stuff that they've been holding on to this buildings this entire time. To see how this will work out for them, and if them playing patiently will bode well for the standings. Well, Crypto. I think he's trying to flush his shield. Yeah,
Cameraman, what are you doing?
yeah, man, there's There's no
Him is
door here, man. He's just trying to use the bathroom.
trying to change his shields, man. Give him some space. Either way. They're going to keep that shield on the ground for hot swap if they need to use it when the engagement eventually works its way in here. Because trust me,
Well,
it is coming. It's just a matter of time. We'll
so
see in a second.
question. I think it goes just a level deeper. I think question mark. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think they took him off there just in case an EMP came through.
Yeah, that's part of the reason as well.
Hey, look at me picking up on stuff.
So I'm gonna leave that down. Jupertinsky still on the drone game right now here, and we can get a better purview as to what the remaining 10 teams are. Alpha Intelligence Dynamics back in it as well here. Elite VR, Fake Love Black, Phoenix 2, Fenrir, Nocturnus, Maycam, Paradox, and Singularity are the teams still in contention to try and take the final W of the day.
Well, nothing truly popping off just yet for any singular squad, but we finally have an update on Paradox's situation, and they've actually moved in across the street from the rest of our squads. They could have some possible burglars, though, up on the ridge, as Elite currently surveying the area, surveying the land, one could say, seeing which area they could possibly rob, which house just, has more paintings and just overall income, because that's really what they want. You want to look in there, get the good loot, not the middle of the road stuff. You'd much rather end up on the, top of the pile there, looking for those legendary shields and everything else.
The Flow Nocturne picks up another pickup here for themselves. Here's they're going to be able to hold the knockout. And speaking of those EMPs, in is going to come one right now, immediately forcing another battery out from the Caustic. The other players trying to fight on the front lines here. Flow Nocturne going to push directly into this, though, thriving in the aggression, and only one player sitting on the other side of that one. They have to work their way through this very quickly as the circle is closing fast, and you're going to see that thing hurts right now. Terraday might not even make it through this stim. Down he goes. Rico potentially going to suffer the same fate. It's the ring that takes out this squad here. It brings us down to a top 8.
Oh, that's such a struggle there for Nocturnes. It didn't seem like they were aware of the circumstances going on with the circle. It was just simply too close to them. And that fourth ring, just so much damage. You saw how it was chunking that Octane. Actually ended up taking the whole squad down because of that. But jumping back on board with Dynamics now is we much rather be talking about the people alive rather than dead. Krim seems to be wanting to move Gibby as close to protection as possible as he continues to get hit with that charge rifle. Kremen's now been down. Dynamics once again in a struggle position.
Jupertinsky literally hiding in the downed body of his teammate right now, just trying to avoid any excess damage going on to him, because at this point, if he doesn't get aimbot back up, it's not the end of the world. But obviously, if he goes down, it quite literally is the end of the world. So I want to avoid that under all circumstances. Paradox still has strong control over their compound. The same can be said for EVL, FL, and AIE. Although AIE currently being challenged out on the inside here by Singularity, trying to push their way in, stealing control. And to be fair, AIE actually doesn't have a whole lot of room to work with here, as half their building has already been encompassed by the circle. The fight exploding out here now. And the problem is AIE, quite a few of their players getting low, but Singularity, also a lot of pressure coming on to them here. What a spot from Elysium, though, gets a lot of damage in. They will catch it before anyone goes down again, but still, Elysium needing to revive himself, and unfortunately having to go back into the circle and out again in order to make any type of play is going to mean they'll more than likely bleed out more HP in the process. Fake Love Black now starting to investigate the outside of their building here, too. It's coming down to the final circle over the next couple of seconds here, and they need to stop people from taking positioning on top of them. There you're going to go. Azale taking out Elysium as they try to hop their way to higher positioning where they will be able to fight out for a longer game and, more importantly, keep themselves alive. AIE also jumping back out, trying to put pressure onto Fake Love as well, but still focusing on these Singularity members hiding on top, and they're going to be able to survive it. Zero and Scanor still stuck on the lower levels here. Their third teammate being taken out, but no! Brands gets finished off by, I believe, Paradox across the way before he can make the impact.
Paradox with a third party from across the street. Yet again, those KPs continuing to stack, but some problems of their own starting to develop. It seems like Fenrir have worked their way into the floorboards and could pop out at any given time, but Elite is also on their tailcoats. Most notably, Desar, as well as Jinx now sliding down the hill. Karazer playing back farther here as, wow, look at the amount of jump pads outside of this door as well. You literally can't even approach this building from this side. You can't even get inside of that door unless you break all of those pads. So we could possibly have them backed into a corner as the EMP goes off, that's going to be the sign for blood in the water for all of these squads, and
Oh,
it's
look
going to
at
be
this.
a full-on party here inside of this singular building. Yet another EMP blast. Everyone's shields getting cut in half as they're trying to find some safe harbor. Sonar detected now, but as of right now, actually, everyone's simply playing safe. They'd much rather stay on top of these shields and see where this engagement is going to pop off. Finally, Zoltam taking some damage as it's Zealous who actually ends up getting down. Fenrir, this is not the best position. They have the low ground and they've lost one of their members.
Defensive Legends are worth their weight in gold right now, but you still have to be careful, as we just saw with Zilach. Over peaking can cost you and cause you to be melted in the case of Zilach. Either way, though, Fenrir will be able to get themselves back up to full strength. Still at 5 squads left here, but the circle getting ready to close here now, leaving these guys with no room left. Look at this. Everyone is around this building, has maybe like a 2x2 square area to work with. There is absolutely no room to move. Bombardment going to come in. That's a lot of pressure that's going to go on to Evolve. Do they have the shield to counter it is the question, or are they going to be able to put themselves into a corner? Looks like they're spared the worst of this airstrike as it works its way down. They'll make their way past it, and still no team jumping into this. Elite BR awkwardly on the outskirts here, trying to pinch, trying to poke their way in, take out one of these squads so they can take their place, but they're not finding a gap to work their way towards here. They're more than likely going to have to jump on one of these teams. GLL here losing one of their players upon trying to move, positioning that circle, closing in. Elite BR, the same fate about to be pushed onto them here on top of the 2 squads, still alive on the inside of the building. Jinx catching some of them now. That's going to be one of the last players going down from Evolve. They'll get knocked out here in top 5 positioning, but with 4 still standing, still in this, and for the most part, still at full 3-player compositions, things are about to get crazy.
Oh, they are about to get even more than crazy. I don't even know if there's words to describe something like this. The ring getting so constricted right now. 4 squads, 12 people exist inside of this area, and this ring does so much damage. It's anybody's game. Fenrir taking so much damage right now. Hopping back on with Elite BR. They only have a singular member, but Paradox, they're still on top of the game. They're dealing so much damage. Still have 2 members up. Nellis all over it, and Paradox do it. That's 4 matches. 50% of the matches that we played today, Blue, go in Paradox's backpack. And you want to talk about some domination, my man. That is how you dominate.
And what is it again? We're going to sound like a broken record at this point. Paradox getting the position early on and just holding it for the entire game there. That building they chose ends up being where the final circle closes in on, and they're just able to leverage that all the way to the win. Not even really needing to be a part of that final fight up until the last squad was left standing, and of course when they were forced out into the actual circle there. Great work once again by Paradox. Literal domination here, as Stokes said, a 50% win rate today.
You can't even make something like that up. If someone said that to you on the street, you would make fun of them. You're like, nah, you're lying. There's no way. Like in Apex, man, come on. No, this team is lights out here today. Some incredible stuff. But as you were saying, it's all about how they're playing these maps. They continue to get the early rotations, find fantastic positioning, and they translate that into a win almost every single time that they get it. I don't know how they continue to be this consistent, especially inside of that last match. Look at the amount of people around this building, folks. Look at this. You're going to tell me that you think Paradox walks out of this situation scot-free? That is insane.
15 people playing around this building, because I think it was 5 full squads when it all started there. So 15 people all within just like an arm's reach of each other going in for this crazy battle. And I mean, it's not even close. Paradox still has 2 players standing with like half HP by the time they wipe out the last squad as well. So Paradox really taking control of that situation, not even needing it to come down to the efforts of one single player in a 1vx scenario. They're trying to clean up. They had it. They had full control over that final circle, and they just come in for the cleanup as the final squads are taken out.
Well, I mean, we did see quite a few squads that we hadn't seen throughout the day have some pretty strong finishes there. We saw Elite there. We saw Fake Love Black there as well. So that's some really strong stuff for them. Extremely excited to see how that ended for them on the scoreboard. But I can tell you right now, Paradox's gap to second place has got to be absurd.
It's got to be like a solid 30 to 40 points at this point.
Yeah.
Remember, Phoenix won. They got knocked down like 16th place that game. So they're not going to get, I don't even think they're in points right now. I think they get nothing for that game.
Did they get a kill? I don't even know.
They may have gotten one kill, if that. So if anything, they're getting
Oof.
like 1 to 3 points for that last game. Nowhere near enough to make up the difference. And at this point, there's a possibility they could be getting bumped at a second now too. Now the good news is the field past second is really up in the air right now, and those positions are changing on a game to game basis. So one team, slowly catching up to them is probably going to leave them in safe harbor here for at least this one next match. But Phoenix have to be worried about it. This is 2 rough performances in a row, and they definitely are going to be at risk of getting bumped at a second now as a result of that. But the question is, who's going to take their place? Who's potentially going to move up there and really start to challenge Paradox? At the moment, it's no one, but there's always tomorrow as well.
Yeah, it's as of right now for the first day. Again, all of tomorrow still. It's anybody's race for second place. That's basically what it is. So we'll see if Paradox continues this consistency. It truly is nobody's game, as you guys will more than likely see from the score here in just a second. And hey, guess what production just told us? We have it for you guys. So let's throw it up on the screen for you folks and see exactly how this last one went down.
No.
Remember, this is just match 8, folks. This is just match 8. Paradox taking this, getting 22 points from this. And if I remember the last time, they had 104. So that's 126 points, John. That's absurd. That's so insane. But Fake Love Black coming up second place there in 126 points. That is insane. They're actually
47 ahead to second place right now.
They're actually like so close to doubling Phoenix's points. It's actually incredible.
We'll have to see, because this is almost getting to a point where like Paradox is so far out distance that the other games may not even be enough to make up a difference unless they like all of a sudden start dropping 20th in every single game from this point forward.
Yeah.
But Paradox, man, like they have to be feeling good about themselves right now. And the issue as well for Phoenix, like I talked about, still a pretty good lead over the third place by 10 points from Fender, but that's much different than what it was before. There was a solid 20 to 30 point gap between Phoenix and the third place team as well. So considering that's closed off, it's a much tighter race for anything past first place, but first place is well and secured for Paradox at this point. And considering they've got a 50% win rate, we're going to have to see if anyone can even come close to challenging them going into tomorrow's games.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a tall task for all of these groups, including second place for Phoenix. But something I want to note on before we do send off here in a little bit. Fake Love Black not having the greatest start to today, but they cracked the top 10, and that's a really big deal given what happened inside of those first 3 matches. If you guys weren't tuned in earlier on today with us, they actually completely disconnected from the first game. They were out immediately in the second game. In the third game, their player didn't even connect in, so they ended up having to play it out with only 2 people. If that was not that way, we could definitely see them inside of the top 5, even fighting Paradox for first place, but they'll have tomorrow to see if they can possibly run it back. But that's going to be such a big deal if they're able to do so.
That is, however, going to end our day of action here for the GLL Masters Spring in South America. Don't forget, folks, we're running all 3 of our regions back tomorrow at the same exact time. So for those of us here and for those of you at home watching, the Brazilian stream will be back at 19 BRT tomorrow. It's going to be 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, or midnight on the dot if you're watching us from Europe. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow, not just for the South American action, but for the APAC North and MEA games as well. See you later, guys.